find me, you may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Hey guys, it's Tuesday night. You know what that means. We are back here for a packed house for episode 15 of the Ballroom Podcast. And I can say for the first time in the history of Society Reviews, we have way too many women on this podcast, as you can see on our lineup here today. We have a full house, and we have a bunch of dudes and a bunch of ladies who are joining us tonight. And of course, the dudes are on top, just like in Society. So we're going to start this one off by introducing everyone. Starting from my right, we have Orange Hat Reviews, who is back with us here tonight. How you doing, Orange Hat?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Then, of course, we have Mr. Rob Motto, who's back with us, recovering Titans fan from this past weekend. Wasn't exactly the best week for Rob. How you doing there, Rob?
Pretty good, and doesn't get any easier with Buffalo coming up.
Yeah, so it might be a rough start for the season for you. I mean, you can always do the show earlier. That way you can just ignore the fact that they're down by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, just throwing that out there as a suggestion. And then, of course, everyone's favorite, Miss C.S. Johnson, is back with us once again. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. You can tell Josh if he shows up. I decided to turn back into my person self and not the feather today.
Oh yeah, Josh is long recovered from COVID. He just doesn't want to come on the show anymore. That's just a little thing that.
Well, you know what? He's in mourning, so let him have his peace.
Yeah, I don't want to acknowledge Josh's problems on this show. I only want to address my problems. Cole Casticage is back with us here today, who had her debut on Culture Stream. Rod from her at the very last minute. How you feeling here?
And I got an invitation for next week, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Well, of course you did.
We'll be back. And then, of course, we have the one and only Nerdigans, who is joining us once again today. How you doing today?
Yay.
I'm not happy that my Packers lost on Sunday. It was not fun. But I have therapy to keep me sane and comfort me. So...
I mean, don't feel bad. At least you're not a Jets fan.
At least I'm not a Jets fan is correct.
Yeah, I was literally going to mention.
Not do well either. God damn you, Russell Wilson. But at least I'm not being Manning, who was like really pissed off on Manning cast last night. Oh God, dude, Joel McHale needs his own freaking sports show on ESPN or something because the man is amazing. I miss the suit so much.
Well, it was a bad week for all of the football fans here on here. The Titans didn't do well. The Jets basically did what they always did, and the Packers had a rough week. I don't know if Orange Hat has any teams or if Johnson follows any teams, but maybe just being outside of the league altogether is what's best for some of you guys right now. So a quick little shout out to everyone in the chat. Duke Nukem is joining us once again tonight, and I don't know, he keeps writing messages in either like Japanese or like Korean or something like that. So I don't know, maybe we'll figure out one day what he's actually talking about, but he's glad that we're here. Neo is back with us once again in the chat today. And I think Newt liked my dudes on top.
Well, there's one dude on the bottom, but he's a kitty, so.
No, we're not. So a quick little shout out to everyone who's joining us here tonight. So I think we should start off pretty hot. I want to get into this because this one is really taking a mind of its own. It is the Little Mermaid. Has anyone seen the trailer for the Little Mermaid yet? Has anyone looked at this? All right, then I'm only going to play the end part because this is the part that everyone's talking about here. So let's just play a little bit, 30 seconds here of the Little Mermaid trailer that has set the internet on fire over the last couple of days.
Wish I could be part of that
Are you guys excited? Or are you guys into it? Because a lot of people don't seem to be. Because if you actually exit full screen here and you go down to this little part here, you see that this trailer currently has 1.6 million dislikes.
Oh shit!
On YouTube right now, and only 549,000 likes. So it has over 1.1 million more dislikes than likes. But I saw a lot of people spinning this essentially to try to say that either it's not bad or they're just denying the backlash altogether. One of the first things I saw from Variety were saying that, well, it has 10 million views on YouTube, of course, not mentioning any of the dislikes whatsoever. That's one of the ways that they've been kind of coping with this. The other way that I've seen a lot of people cope with this is that they've moved on to this narrative where they're only talking about the reaction that black girls are having to the trailer of this movie. Because remember, we've never had a black Disney princess before this movie. This is the first time. Remember, this is the first time we've ever had a black Disney princess in the history of ever. We were creating history here, people. So. So they've been talking about these videos that I'm pretty sure are all manufactured, by the way, about numerous black girls, little girls online that are celebrating the fact that the Little Mermaid is a black girl just like them, and they can finally enjoy Disney princesses because there's finally one that looks like them. Like I said, there's never been one that's ever looked like them in the history of Disney ever. So
their parents raised them wrong.
So you see multiple.
No,
look, I'm obviously not
Nice.
shitting on the girls here. I mean, look, the girls are happy, fine, let it be whatever it is. But I think we all know exactly the message that they're trying to portray here, and it's gotten so bad apparently that I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a Twitter account over the last day or so that did an edit of the trailer where they edited the black girl to look more like a white girl. I'm pretty sure some of you guys saw it online. I don't have the exact video because I think only Memeology has it, but I'm not sure if they've taken that down on his end or not. But I do have a.
Got banned.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Most
so
people,
here's the screenshot right here of what exactly it looked like. It just says to our meme artificial intelligence scientists, he fixed the girl, the Little Mermaid, turned to a woke actor to a ginger white girl. He said basically they're hyping up the program that they have here. And then this was a screenshot of the actual video itself. You can't find this right now because the account has been nuked from Twitter. As a matter of fact, there was, I believe, 3 accounts that shared similar videos along these lines that all got nuked from social media. I guess they violated the terms of service from turning the race swapped Little Mermaid back into a white ginger girl, because that's not allowed on YouTube anymore. So there's a lot of arguments about this. From a personal perspective, I could care less about Disney princesses at this point for a multitude of reasons, but people obviously have much more let's just say heated point of view towards this whole thing. So I'm just going to pitch this one to you guys and your thoughts about the trailer. I'll actually start with Orange Hat here, and then we can go around. What is your thoughts on the negative reaction and the swift negative reaction towards this Little Mermaid remake that we're now seeing from Disney? By the way, I want you guys to keep that in mind because it will be a topic later on.
Well, one, it's Disney. They're obviously going to always be pulling the shit nowadays. It's quite obvious now that Disney does agenda over story. But when I took a look at it and I'm like, why does her eyes look like they are on opposite sides of the globe? I'm sorry, but Halle Bailey has very wide spaced eyes, and it just kind of it. And I'm like, if they're going for Fish Woman, they got it. But with the muted red hair, I'm like, that ain't Ariel, so I'm not interested. Also, I reported on this earlier. Her and Rachel Ziegler are like, our characters aren't going to be defined by a man's love, and it's like, then what the hell is Ariel even going up to the surface for?
Well, see, like, I actually want to object right there, because when she had an obsession with the land long before she met Eric, I mean, like, her whole collection of gizmos and whatchamacallits and thingamabobs was there for, like,
essentially, yes.
How long. So it's fine that, like, she has legitimate reasons for wanting to go to the service, but the whole, like, once she met
him, though, that cemented it. It's like, I gotta get up there.
Right. So
she was the linchpin. Yeah, a nuanced take. Also, they're saying that it's modern. I'm like, okay, so is Prince Eric going to be on a yacht? They're going to be trying to shoot at people with guns instead of swords and cannons. I mean, who do they got as Ursula? Freaking Melissa McCarthy?
Yeah, they could have gotten a freaking drag queen, which...
I mean, they've been doing drag queens more and more. They should have gone a freaking drag queen.
They should have, because Ursula was inspired by a famous drag queen, by the famous drag queen Divine.
Yeah.
Ew.
And the way I see it, it's like, y'all want to come and yell at us? Well, unfortunately, the way I see it, you're all nothing but a bunch of poor, unfortunate souls.
Burn.
I just want to throw this out here right before I let some of you guys talk about this. There was another Cope article, and there's been a lot of Cope articles specifically regarding this movie because they're trying to create this narrative where the negative reaction to this movie doesn't exist. So this is something from BuzzFeed, and I'm gonna read this. This is a real headline here. It says, "The Little Mermaid being black makes scientific sense. This marine biologist explains because deep sea fish are often darker to hide and hunt."
Oh my fucking god, this is ridiculous.
Someone actually wrote that.
Holy fuck.
Really?
Wow.
It's ridiculous. I'm going to say this because I saw this on Black Twitter. Because yes, I will go on Black Twitter to get multiple perspectives because I utilize Twitter like this. Mm-hmm. So what Black Twitter was saying was there are like African mermaid myths, and they're pissed that Disney didn't do adapt one of their stories instead of doing the stupid race swap. Why not do that? And I think that's a fair point because Little Mermaid is an adaptation of a Dutch story. So why not just, if you want to do an African story, have a black princess and, promote diversity. There you go. And it kind of ties into like, because I know people have brought up like the race swapped Wizard of Oz before, and Brandy Cinderella is one that a lot of them are bringing up. Well, here's the difference between those two and this. With Brandy Cinderella, Whitney Houston funded that, and there was a lot of love and tender care put into that by Whitney Houston and by the production team. And you could feel that love in the movie itself and the soundtrack and the acting and everybody that worked on it. And it's same with The Wiz. The Wiz was funded by Whitney Houston, but you know what I mean? The production team put so much love into that. And with this is a soulless remake. So for those that are saying that this is this generation's Brandy's Cinderella, you guys are being very disingenuous because this does not have the same love that and magic that Brandy Cinderella had.
Matter of fact, this remake seems to be made with malice. That's what a lot of these films seem to be made with, deliberately, not to do anything genuine for anyone. It's more so, how can we get people to hate watch what we got going on? That seems to be the instance. There's always an immediate oh, well, before this stuff even is like promoted, oh, how are we gonna go about making people who don't really care about this or just think that there's something wrong? How can we make them look like bad people for not being interested? Or like, that's always how it is. And I mean, there's plenty of reasons why people would dislike this. I mean, how many years now has Disney either done comic book flicks or remakes of films that they've already done? Why is it that I'm seeing a remake of every fucking Disney movie animation wise that has ever existed? Why is it that Disney cannot do what Disney has done in the past, which is bring forth unique projects of any kind? They have no interest in doing any of this, and I think that that's a standpoint that honestly I'm on, without even dipping into the debate of race or gender swapping. I'm just sick and tired of Disney dominating the box office every fucking month with some bullshit ass release that's either the 8th sequel to this or a remake of that. Like, I'm over it. I want new ideas. I want, if it takes Disney cratering to the ground for new things to be created, for new opportunities, for new chances, for new stories, for new anything that's even remotely unique, then you know what? I want Disney to kick the bucket. That's what I'm for personally. And it's not even on a race level. Like, to me, at this point, we're going to have these petty ass arguments. I don't even want to go down this route. I just want new fucking ideas.
Damn straight.
I don't know though. like they haven't really won me any favors with Moana or Raya and the Last Dragon.
Or Pinocchio that just came out not too long ago. So
well, that's
Wasn't
technically
Robert Downey Jr. supposed to be in a Pinocchio movie?
that may have been planned a while ago. I know they just came out with one like a week ago, and
That
a
was
lot of
Tom
people
Hanks,
panned that
the
one.
one that
Just came out.
Yeah.
Just
Oh my
released.
gosh.
You know
I'm
what's
so
bad?
divorced from Disney, so I just all of this is pretty like I'm not gonna watch kids movies, unless I'm someone's paying me to review it. So this is just like whatever, but yeah, just make your own shit. Like if you want to make a black girl, Disney story, make a black girl Disney story. Don't keep remaking the same thing over and over again.
Well, you know what's sad is that the direct-to-DVD Disney movies, like a good chunk of them, like Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, or Cinderella 3, Twist in Time, those movies were a lot better than what Disney's putting out now.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll watch Lion King too. No problem.
And I've noticed this too. We'll actually talk about this with our next topic here, but I want to keep it on this one for a second. It's that it's specifically Disney, because obviously we talked about with Amazon, there's a lot of things going on with like the Power of the Rings. But what I feel like from an outsider's perspective is that you have these mega corporations that are making on purpose like derivative and divisive content, knowing that it's going to be that way, just so they can come out with, these articles and these puff pieces and all this stuff talking about, I can't believe that these people out there are just so racist and sexist and homophobic and blah, 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 blah. Like the whole nine. We saw this with the Star Wars, that Obi-Wan Kenobi terrible show that came out earlier this year, where right before the season even aired, right, all of a sudden this actress was getting just horrific racist abuse because she was a black girl in Star Wars. And all these fans are so racist, they can't handle a black person in Star Wars because there had never been a black person in Star Wars up until 2022. Never in the history of ever has there ever been a black person until we created that, right? So just now we're going through the same narrative again. It's like, oh, there's never been a black girl in a Disney movie up until now. So that's why this one is so important. And then you get all of this just complete BS that you keep getting fed by the media. But the reason why they keep creating this stuff is because in a way it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for them. They get to create this so they can manufacture a racist controversy around it, so they can keep justifying their worldview of everybody's racist, everyone's sexist, everyone's a Nazi, blah, 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 blah. We're just going to keep doing this. And because Disney, as we pointed out over the last few months, has agendas. They have agendas to show, LGBTQ propaganda to your children. They probably also have agendas to create divisive content just for the sake of strengthening their own worldview in that sense as well. So if anyone else wants to finish this one up.
All those articles are pre-written. I'm willing to put money on that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, there was, especially with the Amazon one, you can tell that they had those articles on standby because they came out like literally like the day of the first episode. Like those were already pre-written way before that shit came out. So
do you know what's weird about Disney though? Is that Disney is one of the few actual studios that is owned by themselves. Every other studio is owned by a larger corporation. I mean, if you think about it, Disney is its own company. So they stand alone in that regard, and it's very strange. I mean, I guess maybe you could argue Warner Brothers, but they're still owned by Time Warner. So that's to me that's what's creepy, is that they're still part of the old studio system, but now they've, I guess, pivoted with their business model, and so it's just that's sort of an interesting point to me.
Well, because keep in mind, they're not just like a studio anymore. Like they have like a sports division with like all the ESPN stuff. They own like ABC News. They own theme parks all around the world. So it's like the studio, like actual Disney studios, stuff they put out in movie theaters. At this point, it's only a very small portion of their overall portfolio, which is why they get the money to essentially keep producing crap like this, is because they're still making billions of dollars of revenue just off of everything else. Like now that they're in a position where they can make like $10 billion a year just off their Disney Plus content, which is just re-showing their own library. So that's
Disney's
what we've gone to now.
Simply Disney logo, or the Disney logo simply, or pretty much assures that they're going to make that they're going to have $1 billion success. The problem, or if people were to wake up and actually have an objective thought in their brains when they go to the theaters a lot of people do, but I mean, most of us do anyway. But the general moviegoer, if they were to actually wake up to this shit and say, this isn't right, and they would actually stop making they would stop getting $1 billion just because Disney's attached a label. I mean, especially or Thor: Love and Thunder. When I saw that movie in theaters, Marvel, it's automatically bringing people in. And I've actually did a thing outside my own theaters, like, why are you guys coming to see this movie? It's Marvel. It's like, okay. Well, some of them brought their kids, and some of their kids were leaving the theater asking, Daddy, what's an orgy? And I'm like, that's child abuse. What freaking Marvel just did is child abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that movie didn't do well because one, it was a shitty movie to begin with, but two, I think a lot of people are getting sick of David Cohen's crap when he throws stuff like that in those Marvel movies going in. So, yeah, I mean, I've come to expect this from Disney, but to me, it's like there's definitely something more going on because they're not making this to entertain you. Like, this is not. They can sit there and use little black girls around the country as a shield. Like, we made this for them. It's like, no, you didn't. Like, no, you didn't. Like, stop pretending like this was the reason why you guys did this. You did this because you wanted to be divisive. You did this because you wanted to be derivative. You wanted this because you wanted people to be angry with what you were doing. So when anyone calls you out, you just be like, oh, this person just can't handle a black person on their television screen. It's like, stop. Like, just stop with the bullshit at this point.
It's another week of cultural reparations. So.
Yes, and that term is becoming very, very popular now because we just see it everywhere.
I want to say I coined it. So
essentially, that is what they're doing. That is essentially what they're doing because they can't pass it in. They can't pass it in any sort of government right now because it's never going to happen. But they might or if they can't do it in government, they might as well do it in entertainment, and they might as well tell your kids, "Well, you're racist if you don't like this." And it's like. They're kids. They don't even know what the word racist means.
Yeah. And unless you beat it into their head with all of your TV shows and movies that are aimed towards them. I do want to answer this question from Neo real quick. Yeah, their stock price is down, I believe, like $45 at the beginning of the year. So they are down by a bit right now.
Oh, by the way, Japan is not liking any of what either Disney's doing or Amazon is doing either. I haven't seen it.
Neither is China.
On Together. Together's this Japanese social website, and I've been seeing it there. And one of the people on there was calling what they did in Pinocchio, the black blue fairy in Pinocchio, skinhead, and I was just.
I mean, there are like I've seen this, and I'm pretty sure you guys seen it too. When you look at Japan, China, and all these like regions, they're asking themselves, why are black people in like literally all of our content now?
Yeah, like, they don't like it. They don't like it for Lord of the Rings. Here's what they said with Lord of the Rings. For one, this one person said this, and I think it's great. They said this one person said we don't mind black cosplayers. We do mind Blacktober though. We don't like it when people are blackwashing our characters.
Yeah.
And Lord of the Rings. We know where it's set at. It's set in Europe. There should not be black characters there. If it was a different story, it wouldn't matter to us. But
or when you have
pointing out that fact is racist.
Exactly. Or if you have a thing like Capcom and they're watching Resident Evil on Netflix and they're asking themselves, why is Albert Wesker black? Why is this a thing? Why does he look like Blade from a bootleg Marvel movie and not the character that everyone knows and loves from the video games? And because I mean, you keep trying to browse people here in like the United States and in the West, but if you think that those people are going to mix their words with how they think about stuff like this, you're probably sadly mistaken.
It was the Halloween Adventure Store version of Blade.
Yeah,
it was like the getup
like with the Party City package.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was Wesley Snipes' Blade 1 Blade.
Oh, you know what Resident Evil was on Netflix? It was, remember that skit from, I think it was the Amanda Show, Blockbuster? That's what that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
I will say, I've written a book. It's called Northern Lights, Southern Stars, and it's about a black Snow White. And, you can do the race swap, but you have to do it in a way that's nuanced and intelligent.
Exactly.
And based in history. So in my in my fantasy version, okay, like it's based on African the African French trade, and it's gotten really good reviews, even by SJWs, and I can tell who they are because they use words like inclusive in their reviews.
Yes.
Well,
I think
mean,
at this
look
point,
Lion-
it's really.
look at what Lion King
I don't
did.
think they've realized that I'm white, but
Well, look at what Lion King did. Lion King was the first one was Hamlet, and the second one was Romeo and Juliet.
oh yeah,
French
it's
word.
really
In
Shakespearean sort of core, yeah.
I mean, I think we just need to call it what it is. These films are created out of hatred. That's really what it boils down to. These people hate.
Well, there's very
it's
cynical, if nothing else.
Yes, but like for me, it's like these people clearly choose to create a divisive society. They want us fighting and arguing over trivial nonsense. Why I'm a libertarian. Look at how much stuff Disney owns. Disney is clearly a monopoly. They control the way people think. And I'm completely against that. And guess what? The government's totally fucking cool with it. That's why I think that we should, advocate.
Keep in mind, one of the biggest talking points earlier this year with Rob DeSantis was people were complaining that he took away their governor status at Reedy Creek down in Florida, where Disney literally had an entire town under their preview and had like their own like police department and fire station. Like they were literally the government of their own town in Florida.
You know what? Why can't I have that as a U.S. citizen? I want that. I want to govern my own fucking house and be my own police. That's my dream as a libertarian. So why does Disney get that shit and I don't? That's my question.
To go off of Cassie's point though about hatred, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the pro Hallie people, they were attacking Judy Benson and her town and trying to bring her down her performance to raise her up, and it's just like, dude, come on, just leave the woman alone. She's not doing anything to you. Hallie is her own person. You don't. That goes to show you how much you believe in Hallie if you have to bring Judy down.
Yeah, I will say, like, I'm sure the movie will be like, I'm sure Halle Bailey will be fine in the movie. She does sing very nicely, and I thought she looked pretty, even if she didn't look like, the Ariel from the movie. And I'm like it's not going to like rustle my feathers if she's black for good storytelling reasons.
But here's the thing, I will push back on that a little bit, because here's the problem. None of these movies are actually any good. Like, let's just call it.
I was getting to that point.
all of these movies that we're seeing, like your best case scenario, you're going to get like a 2 out of 5 film out of Disney when they're remaking all this stuff. That's your best case scenario. So you're going to create all this infighting and all these dumb articles and all this stupid coping on Twitter for a movie that's going to come out and is barely going to be good enough to be considered a decent movie.
Yeah, well, I think that is part of the cynical part that I was talking about. I don't know if it's necessarily hatred. I think some of it is, sure. But like, you think about all those articles, they have ad revenue on them. They've got ads. People are paying for the space so you can see them. You got all these hate clicks, clickbait. They're paying for the clicks and they're being funded by the clicks. Yeah. And so that's good business, is just awful division.
Corrupt business, but it pays.
Right. I think it's great. Now. I think it's great that everybody's come around where I've been the last 8 years. Now, I was always just cynical and suspicious of a company that literally builds a reputation on the dreams of children. That was always creepy to me. It was always creepy to me. And then they'd have the cynical business sense to be, to have Hollywood Pictures, to have Miramax. Yes, Disney owned Miramax when Harvey Weinstein was there. And it's like, they know good business when they see it. And so I love that everyone's come around to the fact that, oh yeah, they're a creepy, corrupt, kind of gross corporation. So I was just openly biased because they just make kids movies, and there's some underlying creepiness to that. And I'm not sure what, but it's good to be paranoid. It pays off.
Well, I will to be fair, mom too, though, like that's like, I like that for my kids when their movies are good. Like my kids love Aladdin, not the remake, obviously.
And I grew up with those. I grew up with all of those, like the VHS cassettes, the plastic. Disney classics and stuff. I grew up with watching all of those, but at a certain
Me
point,
and Rob were like the ideal children. We were at the perfect age demographic for the height of Disney.
Same
Realistically,
here. I was in the 89, so I grew up
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
VHS too.
yeah, like we were in the perfect age demographic where the height of Disney, we were there for it, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I became an adult after Frozen, so
Yeah. Like I said, my thing is I like the old school Disney Channel shows, and I'm not talking about like your Hannah Montana. It's like I'm sure if
No.
anyone here is old enough to remember like the Jersey and So Weird, but that was like the Disney shows.
that was
that
like
I
my
watched.
first show on the Disney Channel was the Jersey. I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's So Weird. It was great too. So that was like my little quick era with Disney. So, any other final thoughts about this one before we move on?
I don't care that she's black. I don't care. I think she's a good singer. I wish Halle Bailey good luck with the fallout because she's kind of being used. I understand she has some degree of choice in that, but if Disney handed me $1 million check and said, "Here you go, you're gonna be our next Disney princess," I probably wouldn't turn it down either.
Yeah, I think
because I need the money.
I think it's definitely worth noting that I'm not sure how the actress has come out in regards to this, but I mean, an actress, if they can get work, they're going to take it. If they can get work with Disney, I don't blame them for taking the opportunity. It's really a giant corporation, an evil corporation that hides behind the face of a nice little friendly looking mouse that is creating all of this division and hatred within our society.
Interesting to note that in Japan, they don't have a separate word for mouse versus rat. So no wonder they're suspicious of it.
Makes
sense. I take it Nergans knew that one because she laughed too. So
yeah. The other thing is that like the other thing I was thinking of is it's not the corporation's fault that that people are falling for it.
Yeah, sadly, I mean
that's very
that's our society just in the last couple of years alone. That just shows
No,
that people are just
stupidity has
far
been
more.
around for a lot longer than a couple of years.
No, I'm just saying it's been proven over the last couple of years that people are far more gullible than we realize.
No. This has been like for at least like a decade that this has been going on. But I'm just saying, like for the especially since like I want to say it really came to fruition in like 2016 when everything. That's when I noticed everything is really went this like exploded. Was in 2016. Everything just went fucking nuts.
All I'm gonna say is that there are still people to this day who are driving with mask alone in their car. So I'll just leave it at that.
Stupidity is a disease, and the pandemic has never ended for the stupidity pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's shout out. I just want to say shout out to Spencer who just joined us for the joke that we made about 30 minutes ago. So way to be on time here.
We can tell who you hang out with.
Exactly right. All right, then let's move on to our next topic. We're going to keep it a little bit in line in Disney. I'm not sure how many of you guys have actually watched a single episode of She-Hulk, but I'm posing the question: is this the worst television show ever? Because maybe it's just the fact that I don't watch enough TV as I should have, but I've watched 4 episodes of this show. Now, when I was in Vegas a few weeks back, I talked to Chris Gordon, and he said that he had to watch the first 4 episodes of this show, and he said that he thought the show was good. Now, I saw the first episode, and I thought to myself, I don't know how you came to that conclusion, but I didn't see what you see, so maybe there's something down the line that will change my mind. Well, I've seen the same episodes that he's seen now, and I'm asking myself, is this the worst show that I've ever seen in my entire life? Because I don't know. Let me rephrase that before I start going into it. I know who wrote this crap, right? Because it's Jessica Gao and a bunch of other random diversity hire women who probably did like 1 or 2 episodes of like some ABC show that got canceled after 1 or 2 seasons. And they're the ones that are going around writing this show. And the show is about nothing. Like, this is a show about absolutely nothing. They call it Attorney at Law. There's no legal drama on this show at all. The only themes that this show has is that men are garbage and men are garbage. That's the only themes that they have with this show. They can't write anything that's a competent legal drama. Whenever they try to be funny, it's like the worst thing that you've ever seen in your entire life. And I got to a point where this episode 4, the latest one, that came out, like literally broke me. It brought me to a point where I made a whole bunch of borderline references on Bounding in the Comments. And Spencer can tell you himself that he had to edit out a lot of things that I wrote that couldn't make print that I felt about this show. I mean, the whole episode here is that Jin's going on a date and nobody wants to date like a 37-year-old wine mom. So she has to get a date by using her She-Hulk persona. But then she goes out there and, of course, men are still trash, except for the one guy who's, of course, the good-looking guy who somehow reads like feminist books and is only into like listening to like women talk and things of that nature. So what the show is telling you is that the ideal man for women who wrote this show is in fact a woman, because that's exactly what they want. They want a woman with big biceps. Exactly. They want a woman or a gay man with big biceps, and that's essentially what they want. You thought that the twerking episode was bad. No, this one was like, when it got to the point where they brought in the drunk girl and they kept like bringing her up as like the recurring bit for the comedy, I literally stopped about 13 minutes in and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I almost sent a message to Spencer and John. It's like, I don't want to review the show anymore. I think I'm done. This show is just awful in every sense of the word. And like I said, the only thing that they have on this entire show up to this point is bad comedy, poor writing, and we hate men. Like this is essentially what the show is 4 episodes in. There's apparently 5 episodes left. I don't know what could possibly occur in those 5 episodes. They're hyping up that they're bringing Daredevil in. And at this point, I'm like, please don't, because this shit sucks. I don't if any of you guys have seen any episodes of She-Hulk. Can you answer the question? Is this the worst television show ever created by anyone who's ever breathed air?
Well, I haven't seen it, so I just want to check this really quick. So she cannot procure a date. So she has to basically use her, I don't even know what you'd call it, but like most attractive assets to try to get dates, and then she only gets assholes. So like I'm confused. She's showing that she has no self-respect, and as a way of procuring dates, and then we're supposed to feel sorry for her. I don't understand. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense in terms of like arc or character or where it's taking us.
This feels like a show that's supposed to be relatable to the people who are writing it, and the people who are writing it are women in their late 30s who are career women, childless, and not in a functional relationship. And this is supposed to be a show that's relatable to them. And I'm thinking to myself, that's great. What is the rest of the people who are watching this supposed to get out of this show? Because if you're not in that category, I don't know why you would continue to watch the show. Like, well, what is the draw here? Like, even guys who are like, oh yeah, I have a She-Hulk fetish and I want to see a big green monster that looks hot. You're not getting that out of this show, so I don't even know why you're watching it at this point. Like what's the draw here?
You might as well watch Sex in the City instead of this crap.
Yeah, or Ally McBeal or any other garbage show from 30 years ago that was still better written than this. I mean,
well, it's funny because David E. Kelley wrote Ally McBeal along with many legal dramas and like comedies and stuff like that, and they're so much better than this. And I will watch legal shows, even like, and so if this was even halfway decent, I would probably try to check it out. But it's like I can't even approach it because it's so repulsive, frankly.
Yeah.
My thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
I'm reminded of a movie. It was a remake of a movie from the 80s called Fright Night. And David Tennant did the best thing in that movie when a female was just calling him a douchebag and all that shit. He's just basically like, that's my thoughts to She-Hulk, because honestly, they took one of my favorite freaking characters from the Hulk family, She-Hulk, I've always loved Hulk, and I've even loved She-Hulk growing up. And they took her, basically made her, to put it in no uncertain terms, they made her a freaking bitch, man. I mean, I don't want to say the word that I was going to say, but they made her a see you next Tuesday. Because the fact of the matter is, this woman was a competent lawyer. She needed a blood transfusion to survive, and Bruce was the only match around. And now it's like accidental exposure or something like that. They take so many great villains, from what I'm hearing, in this show, they got the Wrecking Crew, and they have their enhanced weapons, and She-Hulk just tosses them around. It's like, if the Wrecking Crew went after She-Hulk, all 4 of them at once, they'd slaughter her. These guys were imbued with Asgardian weaponry. We all know that Thor could actually go on par with the Hulk.
Yeah.
When it comes to strength and damage and whatnot. And you're telling me that she just whips them all. I'm sorry, but when it comes to the Hulk, his power continues to grow. The angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. She-Hulk doesn't have that. Her power is automatically plateaued. She's strong, yes, but they are just saying she's automatically better. That doesn't work in storytelling, especially when people know the character. And saying all this stuff, I'm not going to speak for women. That's not something that I'm doing. But when she's going off on her cousin, that I've got to hold my temper and check my emotions every day, Bruce. And he's just looking at her, and I'm thinking to myself, he watched his mother get beaten to death. He lost the love of his life several times. This dude literally
killing himself multiple times in the show and in these movies.
Yeah. He tried killing himself. He literally has to keep himself in check by a millimeter every day because, like he said to Cap, that's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry. And then he immediately turned into the Hulk in Avengers, meaning he is riding that line every moment of every day. So when what's her name went off on him, the writers should have known their shit and said, and had Bruce say something like, oh, okay, well, then let me show you exactly what I have dealt with over the past 10, no, actually more like 15 years, because they've jumped forward in time. They're like in 2025 or 2026 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now let me show you exactly how savage I can be if I don't keep my anger in check.
Yeah.
They should have done that. They should have had Hulk lay her out completely because, honestly, she needs that wake-up call. That's sorry for the rant, but it needed to be said.
Go for it. Rob, did you already have a question there, or?
Oh no, I was just doing a big punch because I would like to see that. I would watch that if the Hulk punched She-Hulk in the face. I'd like that.
Well, she also needs to know that there's going to be people out there that are stronger than even her, so she needs to be prepped for it.
Yeah.
You need to lose in order to be able to win.
Well, you're talking about writers of this show who admitted that they don't have the ability to write a competent legal drama or comedy or any sense, right? That they can't sit
and they
there
should never have been hired.
There it is right there, right? But why do we hire this woman? Oh, because she's Asian and she's a woman, and that's all the representation and qualification that we need here at Disney. So we gave her, like, I remember I told you this a couple weeks ago about how this show actually got pitched. She pitched a terrible Black Widow movie to Kevin Feige before they actually went forward with the Black Widow movie. Her idea was absolutely horrible. It involved like Black Widow going to our high school reunion to meet up with people because she killed somebody's dad like 20 years ago or some dumb shit like that. But because She-Hulk was somehow involved with this pitch, Kevin Feige gave her the lead editor role of this show. So this is why we're watching this show right now, because she made a terrible pitch for a movie that that no one would have made. But it's like, oh yeah, we like that you had She-Hulk in it, so we'll let you do a She-Hulk show on Disney Plus. And now this is what we're watching now. We're watching a near 40-year-old woman project her hate of men onto this character that people actually liked going into it, by the way. Like, there's a lot of people that actually like the lore and the character of She-Hulk before this show, but you're not doing anyone justice here with this shit you're doing.
I miss Ed Norton's Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
I actually just watched it the other day and I enjoyed it for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was the Hulk. That was the perfect Hulk.
Yeah, like I think a big issue is just that there are just so many. There's so many hands in the cookie jar, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Yep.
Nobody
go.
knows.
Yep.
At this point, it's just collecting a paycheck. And my thing is with the people that watch this and defend it. It's like, look, I'm the type of person. Halloween 5 is one of my favorite sequels. Is it a good film, though? No, it's a piece of shit. I love it for what it is, but it's a piece of shit. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that a bad movie is good just because I like it for whatever strange fan lore reason that I do. I just do. And I can, two things can be true at once. I could like this. It could still be bad. Why can't we have these honest conversations? I don't understand why it's so difficult.
Because people
Which
just
one
can't
was
admit that their
Halloween
shit is
5?
garbage. That's what it is. It's like, well, with all the stuff that we talk about with the Little Mermaid and Rings of Power and Resident Evil and all these shows, all these movies that are coming out, they can't admit that these shows and these movies are bad because they've attached this progressive ideology to it. Because there was a woman on who's the protagonist, or there's a black woman who's the protagonist, or this represents gay. Like they have some kind of agenda attached to this garbage, so they're going to defend it at all costs. They cannot admit that this shit is just simply trash. They can't do it. So they rather cope
really
instead of come to reality.
I need a clown theme song over like somebody saying cultural reparations. So I can play it.
They
So
really
after-
need to
well, like
stop
in
calling it
2016,
progressive.
In 2016, like I said, like the theme song for this year is "Everybody's a Little Bit Racist." So I need something
Yes,
like.
I know. MDQ was ahead of its freaking time.
Yep. Oh, it's right wing propaganda now. So.
I know.
Yeah.
It wasn't even right wing. It was freaking centrist, if anything. Actually, I've actually had leftists in the protest community that I was a part of. They actually said that it was centrist. They never said it was right wing propaganda. They just said it was like centrist crap. I was like,
if you tell a good story, you can justify a lot of progressive values. I mean, like, and that's like a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, everybody's conservative about something and everybody's liberal about something. It's just kind of figuring out which one it is. I mean, like, it's your body, your money, your time. This. I mean, like, how people measure those things out show their priorities. I will say, like, overall, I think that Disney and a lot of other these companies and stuff have fundamentally forgotten what makes good people and good characters. And this is coming from like headphone got that. But like when you fundamentally don't understand like what makes people work and why there are differences between men and women and how they complement each other and how they're supposed to work together. Like your storytelling goes out the window like almost immediately. I mean, they're like these strong female woman warrior people, these are exceptions to this area, and they're exceptionally good, a lot of them. Like, I liked Mulan as a kid. I still like Mulan as a kid, just not the remake. So
not the remake, right?
right. Not the remake. Nobody is born powerful and perfect. I think even if they were, it would be really hard for you to notice that in today's world. So I mean, but like when you fundamentally forget that it's not just. And I think this is like part of the whole tolerate your neighbor. It used to be love your neighbor, and then was respect your neighbor. Now it's tolerate your neighbor, and now your neighbor's a Nazi if he doesn't agree with you.
Right.
So there's been a lot of dehumanization in the last couple of years, I guess. I would even press for decades at this point, because it began with, you can't disagree with so-and-so or you're racist a long time ago. So, not too long ago, I guess, but
I mean, like I said, like I said, these are people these are audiologues who have attached their own, like I said, ideology around this content.
It's an identitarian sort of ideology. So if you're attacking the show, you're attacking their values, you're attacking them. I'm like, as a Christian, like I can say Christian movies are typically bad, but I'll still watch some of them with my kids because my kids like them and they're wholesome and. Not all of them, but I mean, like,
without struggle and conflict, like, what do you have?
You have a villain.
You have a black woman, and she's the good guy. If you don't think so, you're a racist.
But that's what I mean. Is like without struggle, without conflict, without any growth, what? Who cares? Who wants to watch a superwoman just talk shit about men? And oh, never mind. I'm talking.
They already did that show.
40% of Twitter. So,
Yeah.
Well, the other
more.
thing too is, like Cassie said, like the qualifications for this lady were obviously skeptical. They don't typically read through the sources. They don't go back and look at the old, even the old movies from the Avengers. I mean, people don't realize, I think, sometimes that Iron Man came out in 2008, and that's like like 14 years in Twitter lifetimes. That's like an eon.
It's like entire lifetime, because I think Twitter launched in like 2008 or something. So
something like that.
Yeah.
So,
in a strange way,
Since the beginning of time.
Right.
In a very strange way, I think Disney is like, I don't know if this is intentional, but basically constructing people's minds to not expect basic like foundations of storytelling. Like people seem to not expect character arcs, not expect like cause effect, basic things that you look for in storytelling. They're perfectly okay with watching 5 episodes of She-Hulk and nothing fucking happening. And it's just like, this is what we're doing. We just fantasize over this big green giant chick that is perfect from apparently the very start, and at the end will still be the same way, and maybe she'll smash some bullshit, maybe she'll go to court. I mean, like, well, what we're supposed to follow people's lives just because they're superheroes now? Like, what the fuck? Why don't we just go back to blogging then? Like,
oh well, Vin Diesel,
I don't
wants your
understand.
phone number.
I will make one more point here
PG.
before we move on. Another thing you have to notice that a lot of these projects, where they're television shows and movies, is really just the writers self-inserting themselves into the story. Like I said, this is only a show that will identify to the people who's writing it, right? And some of these people haven't come to the conclusion that they're not as interesting as they think that they are. So when people fundamentally reject their self-insert fantasy series, they in their mind, they take it personally, because it's like, well, I put myself into this character and everyone hates it. And clearly I'm not the bad guy here. It's like, maybe you are. And maybe,
well, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it and make yourself look like the villain too. And just this conversation has just made me really think about what happened in Eden Zero today, because there's this villain named Cure, and he declared himself like the hero and the villain because he created three of the villains in Eden Zero so far that we've seen so far. And he was saying that why he did it was he created all of this darkness so that he could make what the hero organization, the Oraceon Stace Interstellar, shine brighter. And it's just like, oh my God, that's what's going on here. Disney's doing all this shit. All these corporations are doing this.
I think you cut out there for a second.
All this darkness, all this hatred, so that they can make themselves look like, damn it, Mush. And one of the lines he says is here, and it just makes me think of what we're talking about. It, tell me, what is the purpose of our existence? To save the universe? Then we need an evil to save it from. No, that's what I feel like Disney is trying to do.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
Exactly. I do want to bring up this last point that Trey had accessed a little bit earlier. And he says that ever since Hulk got that 2-piece combo, they made him look weak. And she was like, yeah, they ruined it show. I've said this, and I'm not sure if it was Spencer or John or somebody who argued me against this point, but I've said this for a while, that ever since they had Hulk get beat up by Thanos in like the opening scene of Infinity War, his character is like never recovered. And the reason why I didn't say anything about it at the time, because I thought it was going to be presented in a way that, okay, obviously Thanos gets one on him in Infinity Wars, but he'll get his redemption in Endgame, and that redemption never really comes, like, at all. Like, there's no receipt for the ass whooping that he took.
He did the reverse snap though. That's
but that wasn't a receipt from the ass whooping that he took.
Yeah, there was no grudge match, which was what was wanted.
Okay, if you're looking for a specific thing, yeah.
But the way that I see it with these writers of She-Hulk, it's like, oh, I put myself into this character, and people saying that it's bad is wrong, and it's like, except that you shouldn't even do that. You can do that to a degree. I'll take that back. You could do it to a degree, but do not put all of yourself into these characters, because Nobody wants to look at you. Nobody wants to know you.
Yeah.
They want to be entertained. They want to understand the character that makes them tick. They don't give two shits about you, woman. No, and if it was a guy, I would say guy. But the thing is, you got to understand, you're making it not just for you, but for everyone. And unfortunately, it seems that Disney and Marvel are basically making a rated PG version of The Boys for everybody on Disney Plus because honestly, well, if anybody knows the comics, we got Hercules coming from Love and Thunder, and we got She-Hulk. There's going to be a lot of broken beds coming up in the MCU, I'm telling you.
Well, you're implying that, they just don't turn She-Hulk lesbian by the end of this series, which they very well could still do. Because, there's...
Oh, hell yeah, they could probably do that, too, with Titania or whatever her damn name is. Jamil, whatever, or unless she was a one-off.
Why the bisexual hate Jacob? Really? No.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing is, these people have lost the plot, and I'm saying that in multiple different ways. They've lost the plot of storytelling. They've lost the plot of reality. They've lost it just completely. And you want to know why? It's because they want to go after your damn kids. They want kids to see this, and they want them to learn from this. Disney is supposed to, they were supposed to be fun for kids. They were never supposed to teach kids.
Yeah.
They were only supposed to be fun for kids you go to school, you get good grades, maybe during the next summer, we can go to Disney World. That is like a reward. It is never meant to be a lesson.
Well, the teaching was secondary with it because you do have especially in their early films, like with Cinderella, you have the rags to riches, keeping your hope alive when you're super depressed and alone.
Mm.
So,
True. Secondary, that is actually a good way of putting it. It could be a secondary thing. You can learn things from it, sure, but it was never meant to actually be the medium to teach. It was only meant to be the medium to entertain. And if you got lessons out of it, extra credit. There you go. But everybody's saying that this stuff is progressive. Honestly, it sounds pretty regressive because women don't need no guy. I'm sorry, that just sounds extremely.
But who would say something like that? Who would say something that women don't need a man? It would be someone who's probably at an advanced age who doesn't have one. That's the only person who would utter those words.
No, it's Karen who couldn't get laid or something like that too. But
yeah. And all I say is that we always throw the incels under the bus. There's females out there that wish they could get laid but can't too. Except for the only difference is
that's the thing.
They make
the ones that are ones that are throwing just guys. The ones that are throwing the I-word around are most likely titty envy Karens that wish they could get laid and they just want to hog all the good-looking men for themselves. That's what they usually do.
Probably drier than Sahara and high noon, but I'm not going to go there.
I will say I will say so one of my favorite videos is the Swan Princess, and it was made by Rich Animation Studios, and they actually have a large selection of Bible stories that they also animated and stuff, and I just kind of think it's funny because like I can do without Disney just fine.
There you go.
I can do without Disney fine.
Yeah,
all of us can.
Great without Disney.
It is funny that you say teaching was never supposed to be like the point of it because we go to church and we learn about things and we take our lessons away from them and stuff. And this week my pastor's talking about Abraham and we just got done about talking about
for him, man.
Yeah, there's some really really disturbing stories in Genesis that we can gloss over.
To the best of one's abilities, but the moral
talking about incest and Yep, all these other, just the redemptive arc of history too. And it's interesting.
Well, I tell you what, it could be worse. You could force him to watch She-Hulk. So just count your blessings so that you didn't have to do that.
You know, and that's the thing is like the Bible is very well rooted in human history and human value and human, you know, like human nature. I mean, that's the whole point. It's like we have the God nature, but it's fallen and destructive, and that's how you get good stories like the Hulk in the original series, like talking about taking your anger to the fullest extreme and feeling remorse and guilt and your inability to control yourself. You know.
And they actually got a religious character coming into She-Hulk. I wonder how religious he's actually going to be.
I would say not at all.
I don't even want to know, do I?
He'll be a progressive Muslim.
It's Daredevil. He's always been extremely religious.
Yeah, very, very Catholic to say the least.
I told one of my homies, Red Hood, it's like, I hope you're ready because your boy Daredevil about to lose any masculinity he had to She-Hulk. Have fun with that.
Yep.
Oh no, that's right.
It's over, bro.
Did you see that? You see that article that came out today about how Daredevil, they're just like, we're going to just reboot it. We're just going to gloss over everything that the Netflix show did. And even though fans love it and, you know, it's one of the best Marvel shows, probably the best Marvel show ever made.
It was.
You know, let's wipe over that and make it a positive Daredevil show that's happy.
That's the Disney way.
Sliced up by the hand, man.
That translates to me, though. It translates to me. Oh, we can't create anything even remotely thought provoking. So, yeah, that's out the door. We must make everything dumb and lukewarm, and our simps will consume. That's all it boils down to, really.
Well, I mean, look at what happened last Pinocchio. They got rid of the freaking beer and the smoking, and it ruined Pleasure Island.
Oh, well, there's a large division in society too, so I actually understand why they're doing a lot of stuff like this. It's very cynical and very petulant at times, but there aren't a lot of values that will. Yeah, there's not a lot of values left in America that will unite people. Like, and I found this is true with a lot of people that I interact with. Sometimes you have to ask them for definitions of what they mean by, like, when they're talking about Christians. What do you mean by Christian? Or what do you mean by American? Or what do you mean by
or woman?
Feminism.
Yeah, right.
I mean, because like, you know, it's just, obviously there are strong women, and I love my mom. My mom is my hero, but my mom's never going to be She-Hulk, thank God. But I've seen my mom stand up to a lot of things, including racism at times. So, you know, I know people don't believe this, but you know, like my dad's family was from Eastern European background, and her family was from a Western European background. And they did not like each other at first.
Oh, I can imagine the family reunion had plenty of beef that would keep you entertaining.
Yeah, launching missiles at each other.
Yeah.
I think we realize as it's happening right now that a lot of big corporations, people with interest, people in power, they've managed to do a good job of breaking us apart to the point where we can't even agree on basic terms. And it's like, you know, CS was talking about, like, you know, how we look at our neighbor with vitriol now, and this is what they want. This is like one of my favorite movies is Meet John Doe. And it talks about the importance of getting to know your neighbors, sticking it out together to fight the bigger challenges, you know, the bigger corporations, the people that are truly evil and have power, because together you could do that. They've broken us all apart.
Well, society itself has become very individualized as a whole anyway. And some of this is good, I would argue, because, you know, just it's nice to have some diversity in discussion. It's not like we'd be bored if everybody was the same.
We can't even agree on what a woman is. We can't even have basic conversation. That's how far it has gotten. That's I think where I'm an individualist strongly, but I can't even have basic conversations. It's difficult, man.
Yeah, well, the South has become an idol, and that's part of it. So
Yeah.
everybody's kind of borderline narcissist today.
Well, look, we've given Disney more than enough for our time. I'm pretty sure they'll come back around later on in the show. But let's move on from the worst television show that we've ever watched in our entire life to something that's actually really, really good. How many people here have watched Cobra Kai?
I've seen the first season.
First
Yeah,
3
you don't have
seasons.
to watch the whole thing, but at least you've watched somewhat of a Cobra Kai up to this point. I think the only person shaking their head is Rob, right?
I haven't either.
How dare you,
I
sir?
don't watch that much of modern Western television
How dare
anymore.
you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started here, I want the two to explain themselves of why they haven't seen Cobra Kai. I'll start with Rob.
Shit.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it's because I think the Karate Kid movies are cheesy and dumb. They're 80s artifacts of like just banal garbage, sort of like inspirational movies, and that's I just think they're lame. So I've never really been inspired to see the show. In fact, everybody and their mother though has recommended it to me. So I will say that in my circle of even influential people, it's been recommended. I'm just very stubborn when it comes to television shows, especially. So, I mean, if I take the time to watch it, maybe. But it's like, why? Is it a karate show? Like, it's the updating of the Karate Kid storyline with the two guys when they're older. I don't know. I don't really care. So
Rob is a contrarian.
Yes.
So Rob
True.
needs to be a contrarian.
Hold on, Rob is the contrarian. So, what's your excuse?
I'm more of a reader than a watcher, and I've been spoiled by a lot of martial arts series. So you're talking to someone that covers Dragon Ball Super, One Punch Man. Let's see, what other martial arts series have I
Wait,
covered?
Dragon Ball Super has
Oh.
proper martial arts?
Oh, well, actually, I do cover a series that that does proper martial arts. It's called Kengan Omega. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
That's cool.
So yes, I'm very spoiled by manga, especially like gorgeous art. So it's like
Yes.
it's hard for me to sit down and watch something when I'm trying to like multitask. And I like reading more because I like reading more. I've been a reading addict since I was like 9 years old. So
Well,
more so in recent years.
I wanted to hop over to Orange Hat real quick so he can show the class what he.
Somebody has fucking just launched fighting where it's calling freaking Karate Kid dumb because I'm about to ready to
Yeah.
Fight.
I actually bought my kids the movie. And
Can I
they've
explain
watched it.
why I love the Karate Kid?
Well, go
I
right
love
ahead.
Karate Kid too, but
So yeah, like for me though, having watched Karate Kid when I was a kid, I was that kid. Like even before seeing Karate Kid, I was obsessed with Bruce Lee. Like I would get my hair cut like Bruce Lee when I would watch his movies. I would copy his moves, and it's like obviously you're trying to be like that larger than life character. But what I loved about Karate Kid was that like Danielson was essentially like he was the kid that didn't really know karate very much, like me, but me trying to do it. And it's like, oh, he can kind of, learn and get by. And I could relate to that because I wasn't like obviously a professional martial artist by any means. And neither was he, but he managed to, learn enough to get in places and fight essentially people bullying him. And I could relate to it as a kid. As an adult, it'd probably be a little bit harder to, even though I'm still pretty shitty when it comes to martial arts. I could barely throw a kick. So yeah.
Yeah,
the reason why I identify.
I was gonna say I'm not even gonna acknowledge that AEW T-shirt you're wearing right now. But Josh, is there anything that you wanted to add to this one before I get on with the story? Here?
So I bought the original movie for my kids to watch, and they also have the Three Ninjas movies.
Oh yeah.
So my kids take karate, so they actually have them, and we've watched them. And one of the things I like about the Karate Kid is that the I will say that something that didn't carry over is that it's very just like the kid, what's his face, Daniel. He's very distinctive. He's a New Jersey kid living in California, and by the time you get to Cobra Kai, a lot of that's kind of like been ironed out. And I kind of miss the New Jersey sort of accent with it. So.
Well, Just want to give a quick little shout out to Brahma, who's joining us in the chat right now. He says that he likes that this was a great season for Cobra Kai. He thought the F bombs were a little unnecessary, but he puts it up there with the first season. And for me, so I've watched the first season and the last season because I did it for a review. So what I've noticed about the show is that this is a very character driven story from throughout the entire series, and this is something that I really like because we're talking about up to this point how essentially no one has any respect for previous IPs anymore. Like they don't have respect for the characters and the legacy that they're writing. It's just like, oh, we're in control now, so we're going to do whatever that we want. Where because remember, this is a show that started off on YouTube. I think just went to Netflix for, what was it, the fourth season that they moved this to the Netflix. When did this one move? The third season. Okay.
Third season.
That's why I stopped watching after season 2. I just recently caught season 3, but I refused to subscribe to Netflix, so it makes it kind of difficult for me to find that time to go online and do what I have to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you just need a link, I can hook you up with things.
I would appreciate that.
We'll talk about after the show, of course. But but these are people who created this show who really do respect. Like I said, you can say that a lot of the movies were cheesy. There definitely are some very, very cheesy moments in the history of this thing. We haven't talked about the Hilary Swank movies yet, thank God. But I'm pretty sure we'll bring that one in. At some point. We'll make reference to that one. But like I said, this is a story where the whole series starts off as about the story of Johnny, right? So Johnny is the antagonist from the first movie, and we're kind of following like his life about how he kind of burned out in a lot of aspects of his life. He's living in like a trash apartment. He's not very successful. He was working like a landscaping and cleaning gutters and things of that nature. Then he found his purpose again by restarting Cobra Kai. We've just been following the story ever since then. So it's like you can tell that the writers really sat down and took time to be like, okay, how can we restart this story 30 years later? It's like, what would Johnny be doing now after the events of the last film, and what would what would Daniel be doing now? I think they would find ways to conflict their characters. One of the things I thought was really good about the first season is that they kind of switched it around where almost Johnny was the hero and Danny was the villain in a lot of ways. They kind of flipped their roles when they switched the focus on the characters. And that's something that, like I said, you just don't get from a lot of other shows. Now, this is the greatest show ever as contrast to She-Hulk. No, but I mean, this is a very, very good show. I saw the last season, so at this point, if you guys haven't followed along, I won't spoil anything for you, but the season is all focused on what Cobra Kai is, what it's become. Johnny Silver is now the leader of Cobra Kai, and he's essentially the cartoonish villain in a lot of the sense of this season. So there's conflict between him, there's conflict with the kids, and you see pretty much Daniel and Johnny being forced to team up to bring him down because he's pretty much outsmarted them every step of the way up to this point. And they also have a little entertaining little storyline with Kreese in jail. He's like trying to find a way out of it. So if you guys haven't seen the latest season, I definitely recommend it. It's a very, very good show. But I was just going to throw this out there for guys who've seen a little bit of it, at least like the fifth season. If anyone here has seen the latest season, what is your essentially what is your best parts about the Cobra Kai as a series up to this point from what you have seen?
One of my favorite things is that they continue to bring back the original cast members from the Karate Kid franchise. Chozen is one of my favorite freaking characters in the series right now. And he has been ever since he came back in because he has his redemption arc because of, or it's explained in this one more clearly in this season. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I really do like how Chozen has stepped up to help Daniel in this. Like I said, I grew up with Karate Kid. My same first name as Daniel LaRusso. My first name's Daniel. I'm not afraid to let people know that. But it's like I was bullied in high school. I grew up. I learned karate from this show. I took karate growing up. I'm a martial artist and whatnot. And it's like, oh my gosh, when they launched the premise to karate or to Cobra Kai, and they showed that Johnny hadn't gotten over that thing, it's like, don't agree with the premise, the launching premise, where he's still sore about that kick, because the end of that movie, he hands LaRusso that trophy and says, "You're all right, LaRusso. You're all right." He accepts his loss. They show it in the beginning of the second movie as well, where he tells Kreese, before Kreese starts putting a choke on him, he's like, "I did my best, man." And now, even though I don't agree with the premise where he's still sore after all these years, I still enjoy this show extremely well. The second season still has the best, absolute best fight choreography ever, where you have a camera panning through a crowd of people showing different fights all in one continuous sweeping shot. It's like, damn, that is top-notch quality. And also, a wonderful thing about this that a lot of the SJWs haven't really bitched about, because they really have no reason to. This show is diverse. You even have a little bit of SJW nonsense sprinkled in there so that the people can actually mock the shit out of it.
Yeah,
I love
especially
it.
in the first season too.
Oh, they do it in every season. Why the heck are we holding a meeting to decide what to call manholes? I mean, you can't get much better than that. But he's like, they toss in political correctness in there to give it to say, okay, here's your political correctness. Now you're gonna have to understand we are gonna mock this, because you got to realize just how crazy you sound. I mean, we don't call it a sensory deprivation chamber.
And that's
it's a sensory deprivation chamber.
And that's one thing that I really appreciate about this series, is that they do not change the characters to fit to the quote unquote modern world, like whatsoever. Like, these are guys who grew up, like I said, they were kids in the 1980s, and they're products of the 1980s, and they do not bend to modern progressive culture at all at any point of this show.
No, they don't. Yeah. And that is how wonderful it is, because I love how and each of the characters that came from the movies, like Chozen, especially in this season, he fought Daniel in the second movie. He's like, we're going to fight to the death here. He never changes from that core value. He's willing to kill if he needs to. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen, but he's willing to if it comes to that. That is something that I totally love. Every character that comes in from the movies still has that core sense of value to them. A couple of the Cobra Kais from the first generation, obviously one of them has become a reverend or whatever, so obviously he's changed a little bit, but all the others, they still held on to their martial arts. You still saw how well they handled together and whatnot. And this new generation, this isn't so much of a passing of the torch, because if it was, you'd have the first generation pass it on to the next generation. This is what's known as continuing to pass the torch, the process of passing the torch.
Yeah.
And they've done it perfectly. The one mistake they can make, though, is overextending the story. You have a story, you're telling it great right now, but don't go more than like 7 seasons. Have it finish out in the 7th season if you're going to go past 6. Because right now, you got one more Karate Kid movie to bring in other characters. So there's not much more you can really do. But you really do have a setup in this season for another 2 seasons. And I really am looking forward to it.
Yep. And I want to bring up a comment here that Brahma made, because me and Rob were talking about this last night on the movie review show. And if you look at Cobra Kai, a lot of one of the big story arcs about this show is that it's a redemption story for Johnny's character, right? Because like I said, when his show starts off, he's completely down in the dumps. But as the process goes on, he's a guy who's essentially trying to reform himself as a man, and essentially reform himself as, like I said, as an antagonist that failed in the previous movies. So he's trying to pick his life back up together. He's trying to essentially trying to rekindle a relationship with his son and try to like pick up the pieces of his life. And we were talking about this last night, how modern Hollywood writers really don't believe in the idea of redemption. And in their ways, if you were a certain way, back in the day, or like I said, think of it in the way we think of like social media. If you said something that was offensive back in 2009, that's how you're supposed to be vilified for like the rest of your life. If somehow you haven't changed in the course of 13 years to be a better person, even though you did something bad back then. This one actually goes full forward with that, trying to revive like some of these characters. There's a character that they brought in this season, which, like I said, I won't spoil it for you guys if you guys haven't seen it, but it was a guy who was essentially a villain within the Cobra Kai movies in the past film. They bring him back. He's completely reformed his life. He's like running like a furniture company now. He's essentially like turned his life around from the bad guy karate villain that he was back then. So like I said, there's so many things of storytelling wise that they do on this show that you simply just don't see with any other shows. Now, that's not to say that some of the fight choreography could be a little bit better. The episodes are only about 30 minutes long, so it's not exactly like they don't do a lot of like depth storytelling like that wise, but there's so many like little things about the show that you can really appreciate. And after watching season 5, I'm totally all in with this show thus far. And yes, Spencer, that is our good friend Brahma Bull, who's here with us tonight. So for anyone else, if you've seen a little bit, do you want to go ahead and give your thoughts before we wrap this up and go on to our next topic?
So I've watched the first 3 seasons of the show, and honestly, there's so much to like about it. I grew up with the original Karate Kid. It's a silly movie, but it's one that I look back on fondly, even despite the silliness. It's a lot of different things with that film. It's like the music, it's the characters, it's the story, it's the character development. And I also was okay with 2. 3, I don't really like that movie. But branching over into the show Cobra Kai, what I love about it is that it humanizes all of these characters. It's witty, it's smart. It shows that not everyone is necessarily perfect. You're following it. It does things you don't expect. Like you think, oh, Johnny's the main protagonist. Like that's fucking weird. He was the little prick from the first movie. Yeah. So it's like the fact that you're following him and you're just like, okay, well, he's kind of in shambles, but he has redeeming qualities about him. He's not the complete asshole that we thought he was. And then it's like you look at Danielson and he's like, it's like, okay, he's doing good, but he's kind of a dick in some instances too. Like the main protagonist of the films, like sometimes he does things that are like, it's so interesting. And I do like the fight choreography from those first 3 seasons. I will say one complaint I've always had with not just the movies, but also the show is, and to be fair, what's his face? Ralph Macchio, he's old as fuck now, so I get it. But even in those Karate Kid movies, he was a lazy fuck. Like in 3, he was a fat bastard in 3, and he refused to even get in shape to do that. And like that's I guess my one complaint is that like you could tell that there's a stand-in for him whenever possible. But other than that, when it comes to like the younger kids doing fighting and stuff, like they all have interesting characters that I'm all in for. The show, the episodes are like 30 minutes a piece, and like it doesn't overstay its welcome from the 3 seasons I've watched. Like when I did have YouTube Red, don't ask why I had YouTube Red. I think it was mostly for Cobra Kai, but I would binge watch the whole season immediately when it came out, because it's just like the way it follows is so watchable, and it's good in all. It's good enough, or even in some cases exceptional enough to grip me and keep me there. And it's like, it's one of those things where, yeah, I'm nostalgic about it, but for a TV show, it's genuinely pretty damn good. It's better than the mass majority of things out there. And that's not me saying that it's good because everything is shit. It actually does try to be good, and it tries to exceed where most shows seem to fail now. And that's why I really enjoy about it. And I have been slacking on watching it, but it's like I was just in a Discord and we stayed up all night. Like it was like a month ago watching all of season 3. And that's how the show is. It's like you watch that first episode, you can't stop. You have to watch the whole thing. And because it's digestible, it being 30 minutes long for each episode, it's about, what is it, like 12 to 16 episodes a season. It's very digestible.
I think
it's
about
fun.
12, if I'm not mistaken.
It's like
Something
10 or it's 10, 11 episodes a season.
Yeah, so it's very doable, and I think it's awesome to introduce your kids to. I think the TV show is more for like a little teenage thing, but I don't know. Kids now, I can't make the rules. I watched Scarface when I was like 6, and I obviously shouldn't have. So I guess what I think is okay for children may not necessarily be okay for children. It's freaking awesome. So.
I mean,
I do want to just throw this out here really quick. Ralph Macchio, his daughter, very, very attractive lady. If you guys haven't seen a recent picture of her, I just want to throw this up here.
She looks like him, though. That's the scary thing.
You beat me to the punch. I was literally going to say, you could definitely tell that's his daughter.
Yeah, that's baby Macchio there.
She's not ugly by any means, but it's like you are definitely Ralph Macchio's daughter.
No more tests needed, as they would say.
You ain't gonna need a paternity test. That's quite clear who that kid's father is. My last thoughts on this, though, they did it right. This show was done right, not just the diversity's sake. They paid attention to the original. They constantly show scenes from the movies to give you the context that's needed. And one of the things is they respect it.
Yeah.
They know that this was a series that, the third one kind of was a little bit shitty, but the fourth one more than made up for it, in my opinion.
What's cool, though? They really try to make those shitty characters, they try to redeem things about even like the bad parts of some of the sequels and try to make them good. Like they're really trying. And when they do introduce like a character from the movie that hasn't been there before, they do it in such an endearing way. Like the show wants your love and affection in some really touching ways, and I think it's amazing.
Recently got a like from one of the actresses. So yeah,
that's cool.
Recently got a like from one of the actresses. Robin Lively. She was the female. I won't say companion from the third movie, but she was Daniel's friend in the third movie.
Oh, okay.
And it was good seeing her in the series. And it's like she saw my comment, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Duke's point. Yeah, I do believe that there is something there for the younger audiences as well. So, like I say, if you haven't seen Cobra Kai yet, definitely check it out. But that was our positivity portion of our show. Now back to the negativity. Let's talk about Brie Larson, everyone. So Brie Larson is back. She's back in the news. And apparently she's finally acknowledging the fact that I guess people don't like her. But she's doing it in a way where she's still trying to pretend like it's only the trolls that don't like her when she's just generally not a very likable person. Right. So I think they were doing the D23 Expo not too long ago, and they recently asked her, does she want to come back and play Captain Marvel again? And let me just go ahead and play this little clip here while we have it up. It's a Twitter video, so if there's any issues, just know it's not on my end. But this is the question that she was asked on the red carpet.
How long will you play Captain Marvel for?
I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
It's actually great that it stopped right there because that was pretty much the only reaction that anyone else had.
Don't be so modest.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
long will you play Captain
So
Marvel?
she's obviously, I guess you could say that she was joking around, quote unquote. But I think there was a lot of people saying that no, that's pretty much her in her own true form there. And then right after that interview, if I can pull it up here, I think I might have just lost it. There was this little ditty here where they're promoting the upcoming Marvel's film, which is, I guess, going to be a combination of all the Miss Marvel-like characters coming up here. And she wrote this under the caption, Trolls Combust. So here you see a picture of all the women who will be a part of the Marvel's series, which is an unofficial sequel to Captain Marvel 1, but obviously we have to put more women on the screen because it's like, well, if you weren't going to go see Brie Larson, you can go see these other 3 girls. And that should be great, right? That should be enough to put butts in the seats. So, so Brie Larson is obviously back making the rounds, and like we said earlier about a lot of this content that's just kind of being like derivative. They know that Brie Larson isn't a very likable person, but they know that they can also just like put up that shield of, well, if you don't like her, then you're just a misogynist, you're just a troll, and blah 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 blah. So here we go again with another content that Disney is producing, because it's another Disney Marvel related film that's going to be coming out here in the next couple of years. So I just wanted to get everyone's general thoughts on both Brie Larson as a person and the fact that they are in fact doing a Captain Marvel 2, the Marvels, which is supposed to be out sometime next summer. So keep in mind, that's going to be like Disney's big MCU summer release. Is that film that just showed you the picture right there. So what do you think of Miss Brie?
What an awful, awful woman, to quote Brian Griffin. She's just pretty insufferable. I mean, even in that interview, she looks and she sounds manic, like she's in a manic episode of bipolar disorder. So, I'm sure she has her fans or people that think that, she's fighting against sexist trolls or whatever. None of the stuff she does is good. There's a recurring theme here in tonight's show. None of this stuff is good. And so you get criticism generally when you're in crappy stuff, and it's intellectual property that people enjoy. And now, luckily, she didn't have any of that to deal with Captain Marvel. She just gave awful press interviews and irritated, her castmates. So
yeah. Because there was also rumors that some of her own castmates don't like her too much. This was, remember, a couple of years ago when everyone was shitting on Chris Pratt on the internet, that a lot of the Avengers cast came out to defend him, but people on Twitter were upset that they were defending him and not Brie Larson because people were giving her shit too. It's like, well, yeah, there's been rumors behind the scenes that they don't exactly like her either. So maybe that has something to do with the fact that they haven't publicly defended her. But it's not the fact that she's insufferable; it's the fact that you're just a bad person for not liking her.
Right.
I think it's pretty obvious, and I think even Brie Larson knows this, as self-absorbed as she is, that she has no idea how to come off as in any genuine way likable. Clearly, she does not. At this point, I'm convinced she just plays to her strengths. I'm going to be an absolute bitch because that's what gets me attention on the red carpet. For an actress, how much more fake can you act when you're being interviewed? You'd think that as an actress, she'd be able to pull it off at least a little bit more genuine than that. But I guess that goes to show who we give Oscars to these days. But
keep in mind the reason why she's a big star, because she won an Oscar 6 years ago for a film called was it Room or something like that.
I was open to giving her a shot. I thought it was they're giving an Oscar winner this thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, this will be interesting. I didn't really know anything about her, but back then I valued these merits to whatever extent. I don't anymore, but come to find out, it's just this is just a chick. I think at this point she realizes, damn, there's a lot of other women that are arguably more insufferable than me right now. This is not cool. You could tell she's an attention-seeking bitch, and I think the thing about women is women hate other women more than what everyone seems to think that men hate women. Women are very vitriolic toward each other. I'd rather work in a workspace with men than work in a workspace that's entirely women, because women are very vicious for some of the most petty fucking reasons. When a guy is vicious, it's typically, I can typically understand the basics. I mean, you have guys that act like women nowadays, so I mean, it's hard to account for them. But most of the time, I could tell why a guy gets out of line or he feels some type of way. With a woman, it's like you could be wearing the wrong color today and she will have something against you. Like, that's how basic it is. And I think Brie is just like, damn, well, you know, all these women are getting all this attention being a bitch. I have to out-bitch them. That's how I feel like it is with someone as narcissistic as her.
She's not
Bree's
wrong.
a basic bitch.
She's not wrong. Cassie's not
Very
wrong
basic.
though. Like I talked to my mom about this before too, and I've talked to first wave feminists and second wave feminists about this. Is that when you hear all these feminists say that women are going to unite and all this shit, that's a load of bullshit. Any woman will agree with this. That we women hate each other so much, there is no way in hell that we will ever unite. Ever.
That's true.
We hate each other. We are catty and bitchy towards each other. Have you not watched Mean Girls before?
Listen,
We
I have
will only
worked,
unite to take your power away, and then we will throw each other under the bus trying to grab it. So
Exactly.
I have worked almost exclusively in white collar offices for the last 10 years. I've worked almost exclusively with women. I just keep everything to myself and just keep my headphones in. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
that's the
Keep
best
your
you
head
can
down.
do.
That's the best
Yep.
way to do it.
The best
No.
way to describe this is you think Twitter is vicious? Oh, just imagine how shit was before Twitter. Like, that's how women were. Twitter made things even worse.
Yeah.
Social
More
media made things
accessible.
even worse. Women were bad before then, but God.
We hit it better.
You know, women were bad before Twitter, but they had more style about it back then. Now it's just the war.
We had
Like,
time
it's
to,
not
like,
even
go through your
stylish
thoughts.
bitchiness anymore. It's not even like, I could respect, like, one of my favorite artists is Diana Ross because she's a bitch. Like, she is such a bitch and she did it in the most coolest way. And that's why I'm a fan of her. Besides the fact that I do like her music, I do like her acting despite having like no previous like engagements in learning how to act. But like, she's a bitch and she was like, she had, I guess you could say, swagger about it. Now people are just a bitch and it is like in the most catty, not cool ways possible, and it's kind of gross. It's like I could appreciate a bitch that's bitchy in a cool way. When you're not even cool about it, there's nothing for me there.
That combined with insecurity. You know, Brie Larson, that combined with insecurity, combined with in Hollywood and how competitive it is, it's just like it just falls apart in front of the camera. She can't even conceal her irritation.
Okay,
She's
so I'm gonna give.
basically. All right, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm gonna take a while. Go ahead.
No, I was going to go off on, or I was going to go off on a rant. So you go ahead first.
Okay,
Ladies first.
okay. My
No,
rant
you.
first. All right, so Brie Larson actually was in a movie called Right on Track with Beverly Mitchell when I was a kid. I
Oh
remember that
yeah, I
movie.
remember that film.
So she played opposite of Beverly Mitchell, and I knew Beverly Mitchell from Seventh Heaven. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this. And so she's been in like Hollywood, especially the Disney circle, for a really long time. And you know, like the Jeanette McCurdy thing came out, and like all these stars are coming forth about child abuse and the kind of tough circle, the beauty pageant ring that their mothers kind of put them up to. And usually what I look at when I try to get an estimate of people and why they're like the way they are, you know, I look at like their past and what defines them, because usually the things that define us are like things like what's the most difficult thing you've ever had to overcome. And I think especially with children, like trauma, like because Disney has a reputation, Britney Spears, I mean, we don't have to go too, I mean, Miley Cyrus, we don't have to go too far down the history bracket for this.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that she saw her fair share of rather traumatizing things, and it does give you some kind of personality tics, like that happen. Like when one of the things that like almost like getting over depression was like for me, like my postpartum was trying to figure out who I was and who I had been before, and then try to like work my way back. And it was like shoveling like like the little sandbox shovel in the ocean and like throwing it out. That's hard. And I don't think being surrounded by yes men, you know, people that are like, oh, yes, you're perfect. You're perfect. They're awful. Like these people that hate you are just
It's
awful.
not you who needs to change.
Right.
Right.
I don't think she's had a lot of honest feedback. I don't think she's had a lot of people that will come beside her and say, hey, you're kind of putting people off. And I think with the trauma, like she's, I mean, like on some level, I feel like she got the role because she has enough blackmail info that she could kind of climb her way to the top effectively if she wanted. And it was like, oh, okay, well, instead of this, we'll give you this. And if you mention any of this other stuff, we'll destroy you. And and she's kind of taking on this like kind of like the righteous cause of the progressives with, you know, her speech about, I don't want to hear what these 40-year-old white dudes think about A Wrinkle in Time stuff. And championing like women and women of color. And I mean, she kind of got her wish. So in all fairness, I don't think so. I don't think she's very.
I do just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Just real quick, is that, you know, that was the comment that really started like all the hate against her. Like it didn't just come out, like it didn't just fall out of the sky, like for no reason whatsoever. She made that comment, and instead of anyone just acknowledging the comment that she made that rubbed people the wrong way, they just went straight with, oh no, they're just misogynists on the internet. They're just trolls because no one can possibly not like Brie Larson unironically. They have to be trolls.
Yeah, I don't understand the people that like that stan her. I don't understand that. And I definitely don't understand her appeal over somebody like that has goodwill in Hollywood. Like an actress that, well, like one of the things that they compared her to, one of the people they compared her to was Gal Gadot with Wonder Woman, and how she was always happy and cheerful in the interviews and stuff about being the female superheroes and stuff. And just, so yeah, there's definitely a charisma vacuum. I'm guessing there's probably a lot of trauma in her past, whether she wants to talk about it or not. And so I think she's a product of her environment, and she's also making her environment worse. So, you know, and if I ever met her in person, I don't know, I'd be like, hey, yep. Hey,
just crack her right in the face. That's exactly what she would know.
I was gonna say I'd try to give her a hug if I thought she needed it, but I don't think she would want it. So it's one of those things where it's better to be like, hey, it's nice to meet you.
A couple of points here before I let Orange Hat go. One, Brie Larson was also on a TV show called Raising Dad. I'm not sure if anybody remembers this. This was an old Bob Saget TV show that was short-lived from like 20 years ago with like her and Kat Dennings. And for some reason, I completely forgot she was ever a part of that show, but she was in fact the younger sister on that one. And I did want to bring up the funny that you mentioned Gal Gadot, because Brie Larson herself actually unfollowed Gal Gadot, if you remember, a couple of years ago, because during the whole height, remember when everyone was really on like Palestine side for some weird reason for that short period of time, like right before COVID. And obviously Gal Gadot is from Israel. She's an Israeli. She served in the military there. So she was obviously defending her country, which she has every right to do. But because she did that, Brie Larson unfollowed her on Instagram. So that was like a big
again, Brie Larson is a product of her environment, and her environment is that way, you know. I don't think, and like just some of her YouTube video clips, it's very clear that she doesn't have friends, like a starting point for figuring out her personality very well. I'm sure she's nice to people that she thinks she can get stuff from, you know. I mean, most people are. I'm like that at times, you know.
I know, Orange Hat, you've been waiting to speak on this.
Yeah, so let's my rant's over. You may have the floor, Orange Hat Man.
She has never grown up. First off, Brie Larson, that is. This woman portrays such impetuity or whatever the word is, and she comes across as such an unlikable person. Is that a personal attack or something? I mean, what's your deal? And I mean, she played the perfect, or she was cast perfectly for Kong Skull Island because she was fighting for women's rights, and she was all for. It's like, what, a woman can't do this and that, yada yada. Back in the 70s, sure, that's where that shit belongs. You guys got, or ladies got their freaking equality. Ladies got all that shit. First wave feminism, I have no problem with. Yeah, first wave feminism, I have no problem with. But when you get up to the third, fourth, fifth, and past second wave feminism, that's where I draw the line because you're not looking for equality, you're looking for superiority. She has less range than Plank from Ed, Ed, and Eddie. This woman did a Nissan commercial. Drop the taco, get in the car. Why are you kidnapping a woman who didn't get a raise or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Pick up that taco, eat that shit, forget about her. But the main, I mean, I could rag on her all day, but my main thing is she comes across as so unlikable that the mere mention of her, I completely tune out. I'm a person who literally looks at things from such different ways. When it comes to a person and how unlikable they are, my mind can't. It's not that I choose to tune out. My mind literally is repelled by that kind of person. Brie Larson is that kind of person. I don't think she was raised properly because she always comes across as, well, hateful. She comes across as narcissistic. And when she got into, or when Kevin Feige, before Captain Marvel ever came out in the MCU,
very much in the dark. There was no script to read. There wasn't even.
Well, that is true, but before she ever came into the MCU, Kevin Feige did an interview where he said, we don't really want to do activism in our films because we know that that is inherently divisive. He understood that very valuable truth. Well, enter Brie Larson in Kevin Feige's office. Okay, we're interested in having you. Yeah, I want to make this a female movie. I want to really make this a female empowerment movie, like yada, 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 activism and all sorts of stuff. Well, now that we want her, I mean, we really do want her, so should we sacrifice what we have been going for, which is kind of uniting fans and whatnot, or should we try to seek somebody else? Well, either she gave it to him underneath the desk or something. I don't know what the hell happened. All I know is that they decided to cave into this woman's demands. And before that, or we all know what happened with Rotten Tomatoes, they completely overhauled their site to protect her movie.
That's what they did.
Well, she took residency on Kevin Feige's casting couch, and now she's getting the boot. She ain't happy about it.
Well,
she dropped
that interview speaks volumes to a person who knows how to read body language. She is not just putting on an act. When she does that, when she's like, I don't know, she's doing that not only to basically say fuck you to Disney right now because her contract is in flux.
Yeah.
But she is literally saying, well, maybe those idiots do have a point. Who knows? All I know is that I'm kind of getting screwed over. My sequel was supposed to be about me, but now it's about a bunch of other broads. And, well, maybe if people don't like me, I don't know. I don't know what to do. She is all over the place. Somebody get that woman some Adderall because she's too freaking all over the place. She needs to focus. I mean, she looks like she is coked out of her gourd in that interview.
Brahma had brought up this interview he wanted us to play. We'll only play a couple brief ones. I'm not sure exactly how much I can play, but this was the interview they did with Chris Hemsworth and Don Cheadle. And I'm glad you mentioned body language because you can definitely see it here in a couple of clips.
Is there any competition between the different the different groups?
There's no competition for me because I'm the strongest, so it's just kind of like a different.
Oh, yeah, she let her think that. But
it's not. As I've said before, it's just a fact. It's not a personal opinion. It's not a reflection on what you can't do, but it is also kind of a reflection on all the.
It's just that you're just not that strong. But she's really smart, and but should we have a fight?
And she can eat bacon.
I feel like we're fighting right now. I think it's been an all-day thing.
And she eats bacon.
Oh, like nobody's business.
There's a whole 8-minute video
Yeah.
here. Like I said, you can literally just play so many clips of this all day where they're like sitting there and it's like they want to yell at her, but they know that they can't. So they're all just like sitting there, and it's a shit show. But I'll put that one in the chat if you guys want to look that one up on your own time. But yeah, I mean, just put it into words here. She's just not a likable person.
I think
Like,
what's
she's just
important.
Essentially, yeah.
I
That
think
woman
what's
is.
Got a new one for the couch. That's probably what happened. And he got a younger one and a good, better looking one probably. And she's not happy.
Yeah.
She
Well,
had control of that casting couch for a good minute. And we got all these shitty Marvel movies because of this hoe. But hoe's gotta go.
They've always been awful.
Here's a serious question. How many of y'all have seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged? Because there's one. Because I'm going somewhere with this, believe me. Vegeta, when he was going after Android 18, basically just drops the biggest freaking insult that just sets her off. She's like, okay, now you're gonna die. I mean, this perfectly describes Brie Larson. You smug. See you next Tuesday.
Yep.
It's like when he calls her that, it's like that is Brie Larson essentially. I mean, I'm pretty sure they could have easily created their version of Android 18 around Brie Larson. I mean, if they ever did a live action of Dragon Ball Z's Android Saga, Brie Larson should be Android 18.
No, don't insult a girl like that.
Listen,
good point.
We already had bastardization with Dragon Ball Evolution. I don't need another one, thanks.
All right, good point.
So, being completely honest with you guys, full disclosure, I actually liked Brie Larson before all of her Captain Marvel shit. I actually
was it their music career that won you over?
No, I actually thought she like, and maybe it was just like she's a cute girl next door, like who's on the beach. That was like, she was really good at that. She was really good at just being kind of like a cute girl next door type in like romantic comedies, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, but like that's her A game. Okay. Everything else is just sort of like gravy for her. Like, she's not a very talented actress, but like I thought she was okay. I thought she was passable. Yeah.
She was okay until she opened her mouth.
Yes. I mean,
if I didn't know Brie Larson and I didn't see the clips and I didn't know her reputation, I probably wouldn't even. I don't even really care about it now. So, I said, I feel like she's, obviously not like somebody that you want to,
hang out with,
cast in your lead, or
I think
hang out with a whole lot, but.
I think that the best way to sum up just how I see things personally is like, you do nothing necessarily special. You are not in comparison to the people that I hold up in a pedestal in the acting perspective. There is no reason I'm willing to deal with you being a piece of shit. I'm sorry. You're not fucking Liz Taylor. You're not Joan Crawford. You're not any of these fucking people. You're not Marlon Brando. People are willing to deal with Marlon Brando's shit because the dude was truly fucking talented. And so are the others that I've listed. They were truly talented people, people that you're willing to deal with their shit because they had something genuine to add to the medium. All the actors nowadays are easily replaceable to me. Mm-hmm. That's just what it is.
Unless you're Tom Cruise, because who else is going to jump out of a plane in 5 seconds?
No, exactly. Exactly, man. And it's just when it comes to someone like Brie Larson, you are easily replaceable. You're not particularly great at anything you're willing to do. And you're not willing to do much because of how much of a stuck-up bitch you are. At some point, you're going to be easily replaced. And I guess if you want to be remembered as the most unlikable person of your time, well, I guess you'll be remembered for something because that's all you'll be remembered for.
Mm-hmm. No, she'll just be remembered for being a resident of Kevin Feige's cast couch, at least for me.
Yikes.
I will say, like, the amusing thing to me, like, in all of this, is that if you gender swap Captain Marvel, like, if you make her a man in her movie,
You mean make Captain Marvel what?
Yeah,
they were supposed to be.
I mean, like, well, we showed the AI stuff earlier for Ariel. If you just make her a man, like, the story doesn't change at all.
You can make Captain Marvel a trans man, and you'd have the community all buzz.
Well, I mean, like, she was talking so much about female empowerment, and the movie is kind of like this feminist sort of power fantasy and everything. But if you make the character a man, nothing changes. I actually talked a little bit about this in the Hollywood in Total article that I wrote a while ago, and it's like you need some kind of, if you're going to put all this like emphasis on having female characters as your leads, as your main characters, or just, you know, like these special people, like, and this is for like Galadriel right now that we have issues with, you know, you need to have some feminine justification for this, like.
Hey, what you doing that?
You know,
for?
like in Captain Marvel, like I said, if you just made her a man, it wouldn't change the storyline at all. And she had no natural like female desires or anything. She was just like this kind of soldier for hire who went along with things. And they told her to stop being so emotional, but she was just like, you know, that was like she wasn't really that emotional throughout the movie, and it was a lot of mixed signals, a lot of poor writing, and a lot of just, like I said, there was no feminine justification for her character at all. And I mean, like, people like me, like, I'm a woman, it's like, oh, you should love this because you're a woman. And it's like, I can love that and not be a woman, and I can hate it and be a woman, you know. It's like, that's like saying all black people vote the same way.
So there's one thing that this podcast has shown is that we have a bunch of women who are not very fond of women. So
many women will tell you the same thing.
We
don't like each other.
The line between good and evil runs through every human heart, you know, and women are just as capable as men of being villains, albeit though we will have different expressions of those forms.
Yeah.
We are. Here's the difference between men and women. Men are more straightforward with their villainy, and we are of more the psychological warfare type of villainy.
A bit more passive, as you would say.
Honestly, that's part of the reason why, like, gay men make the best villains. You know. So.
After watching Lucy with Scarlett Johansson, I have come to the conclusion that she could actually play a stone cold psychopath very well.
Have you seen Under the Skin?
If you've ever seen Lucy, you know what I mean when she puts the knives through that dude's hand and just talks about shit.
Okay, but have you seen Under the Skin, where she plays an alien who like kills men after seducing them?
No, I haven't.
Check it out.
There's a lot of nudity in that one.
Yes. I just wanted to say this
sexy.
one. I just wanted to answer this question before we move on to our closer here. Someone said, is Brie Larson worse than Amber Heard? I would say this. At least right now, there's no stories of Brie Larson shitting on someone's bed and cutting off their finger. So just based off of that alone, I say Amber Heard is still worse than Brie Larson.
I'd say
Brie
she's
Larson
on the same level as Jennifer. So.
Well, yes, you never know, because there might be accusations from Kevin Feige at some point.
That's pretty much the only thing that they're going to have going forward. Brahma has a good idea here. Just cast Anna de Armas for every role. It's like, yeah, I'm down with that. It'll probably make far more money too. So
from what I've seen her, and she has a little bit more range than Brie Larson does. So.
Well, that's not saying much.
Well, I've only seen her in like 2 movies, so.
Well, this is the part of the show we're going to go ahead and hit up for our closer here. But everyone who's watching us on YouTube right now, I just want to give you guys an opportunity to go ahead and like the video if you guys have been here. And then while you guys are doing that, I just want to show Nerdigan's cat for a couple of seconds while I bring up our closer.
Jacob knows that look at the eyeball.
He's playing with my hair. Say hi, kitties.
Hi, little guy.
Oh, he's cute. Next time you come on with, if I remember, next time you come on with me, I'll get my orange cat and we'll have cat battles.
Well, cat fights. My cute little kitty fights.
All right, then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, from one insufferable bitch to another, let's talk about Jennifer Lawrence. Because Jennifer Lawrence is complaining about the fact she made $25 million from a Netflix film, but because Leo made 30, that she's still a victim of the wage gap. And you think that this is a joke, but it's not. If you guys watched the Black Pill stream of myself, John, and Spencer and Josh last week, there was I want to say it was Vogue who wrote a literal 5,000 page article / interview with Jennifer Lawrence, which felt like we were being waterboarded reading it.
But it's got to be word. I'm sorry, it has to be 5,000 words, not 5,000 pages, right?
No, 5,000 words. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. That's a lot too. But
honestly, reading that article, it felt like 5,000 pages as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it was a Jane Austen novel, I swear to fucking God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nergens was literally there when we were rating it too. Yeah, it was bad. So yeah, in the course of that article, she's talking about a number of things. She's talking about the fact that, she can't deal with the Republican members of her family anymore because they don't see that, that they're still anti-abortion and they support Trump, and she just can't deal with her Republican side of the family anymore. But whenever she's yelling at them about politics, she sends a picture of her new baby in order to get her family to keep talking to her. So she sounds like a very, very lovely woman. But here she's talking about the fact that because she didn't get paid enough for a recent Netflix movie, which was horrible, by the way, that somehow she's a victim of the Hollywood wage gap. So keep in mind, this was a Netflix movie that came out at the end of last year. It was an Adam McKay film, which I think they wanted to be Oscar bait, but it was just absolute derivative trash. And essentially, if you haven't seen the movie, it's a movie about an asteroid coming to Earth and blowing everything up, but they're using it as an allegory for climate change. So the message of the film is supposed to be that we're ignoring the fact that we're all going to die from climate change, and we're all like, there's literally a scene like in the film where Leo just screams at the audience, "We're all going to die. You guys are doing nothing to help it." So it's like very, very subtle storytelling there from these two. But yeah, she's going over here and she's talking about the fact that, she wasn't paid as much and she was paid less. Now, all the articles talked about the fact she was paid less than Leo, but they didn't say how much she actually made. She made 25, Leo made 30. But she go on to talk about this by saying, it doesn't matter how much I do, I'm still not going to get paid as much as that guy because of my vagina, she asks. So she's literally whining about the fact that she got paid more than anybody in this room will probably make in their lifetimes in one very, very shitty Netflix film. She continues by saying that, okay, keep in mind, this is not the first time that she's whined about this. She brought it up back in December with Variety Fair, but at the time she was a little more understanding with the fact that she was getting less than Leo. She said that I was the number one on the call sheet. Am I okay with being number one? Yeah, I thought the credit should reflect that. Leo was very gracious about it, she said. He said, I think that we have this thing, this Laverne and Shirley thing, which this is the billing that they invented where we have equal billing. So he's talking about the fact that, they're supposed to be equals like in the film, but she understands that Leo's a bigger star than she is. He said, somewhere down the line, I kicked the stone further. Said, what if it was equal? She goes on to say, look, Leo brings in more box office than I do, adding the fact that she's very fortunate and happy with her deal. That was back in December. So clearly that was a lie, because now she's back to complaining about the fact that she got paid less than a man. And keep in mind, this is not the first time she whined about getting paid less than a man, because if you remember a film that she did called American Hustle back in 2013, she was complaining about the fact that she didn't get paid as much as Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper, and Jeremy Renner. Now, keep in mind, she got paid 7% of the profits for that film, while her male co-stars got paid $9 million. I'm sorry, not 9% of the proceeds. That one had that mixed up. She got paid 7%, they got paid 9%, and she was very unhappy with that back then as well. So this has been a recurring theme with Jennifer Lawrence, where she's not happy with the fact that she's getting paid millions of dollars to be in these terrible movies that people forget like 5 months after they've been released. But she thinks that she deserves as much money as the guy. So what do you guys think about her complaints about not getting $25 million? And I see Cassie's over here raising her hand, so I'm gonna let you go first.
I think that actresses of the past deserve reparations, because we have people like Vivian Leigh. who literally carried Gone with the Wind on her fucking back in literally like 98% of the scenes of that entire fucking film. One of the hardest films to make of its time. A film that spans for like 4 fucking hours, big in the mass majority of those scenes. And basically, in terms of comparing actresses, Jennifer Lawrence is fucking shit in comparison. I'm sorry. I have no sympathy for this bitch when she gets more money than I will make in my fucking lifetime, arguably. Or, you know, it will take me a lifetime to make that much money. And I just don't give a fuck. I don't care. You're not making anything of worth as far as I'm concerned. Jennifer Lawrence is past her fucking due date. I'm sorry. I think you're over. Like, I never saw the appeal of Jennifer Lawrence. I love the original X-Men trilogy, even the third one. And she is a fucking terrible Mystique in comparison to the original, the real Mystique. She would dress up not want to dress up, mind you, meaning, you know, wearing the paint and doing all that shit. And when she would do it, she'd look like she's standing there waiting for the bus. There is no acting talent as far as I'm concerned. I think that I can act about as good as Jennifer Lawrence, especially when I unfortunately have to sit through an X-Men movie that I really like and try to ignore the fact that she's a pivotal element of X-Men Days of Future Past, because honestly, she's just a shitty fucking actress that I cannot stand. And I don't think she deserves the money that she's being paid currently.
Let me answer this question before you guys jump in just real quick. You said, who's worse, Jennifer Lawrence or Kirsten Dunst? Kirsten Dunst didn't complain about a $25 million payday, so I would say Jennifer Lawrence just based off of that. And to bring up Brahma's point, yeah, she ended up getting paid. If you remember the film Passengers, which I believe was 2017, she got paid $8 million more than Chris Pratt did to do that film. So even though they were both equal billing for that movie as well. So just throwing that out there. And yeah, don't forget that part too. So go ahead, Johnson.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, I think a big draw of the last X-Men movie, the one with Sansa.
Yeah.
Oh, I think a big draw of it was that Jennifer Lawrence got killed in it. Yeah.
That was the part where I cheered. Everything else
I was
is
gonna say, a
downhill
lot of
from
people
there.
probably really like this part.
Besides the fact where basically Dark Phoenix makes Professor Xavier do stairs by force. That was one of the most comedic scenes, and better.
You're talking about the good movie, right? Not the shitty one that came
any
out.
MCU film in terms of comedy. The MCU films cannot achieve that level of comedy. Okay. Besides that Dark Phoenix movie is a giant pile of dog shit.
No, my husband and I actually went to go see. It was The Other Guys when it came out in theaters. Yeah. And I said that too. That I was like, I bet you people would just watch this movie to watch The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson jump off a building,
kill themselves. Yeah, it's fantastic. There wasn't even a brush there. I don't know what they were looking for.
Yeah.
This is the same Jennifer Lawrence that brought in the X people conversation.
Oh, really? That's
yeah. Well, that was the line from her movie. Although she probably did have a role in, or she probably did like saying it about like how they shouldn't be called the X-Men or something like that, right?
X-Women, yeah. We're always saving the men around here. You should think about changing the name to X-Women. It's like, and you should think about making me a sandwich, bitch. Shut up. I just got off the phone with the president.
Yep. Exactly. Like, they don't literally make me turn your brain off with that back talk that you give me right there. I can easily do that.
Yeah, I will say, for like what it's worth, if you like, I watched an interview with her back when Honey Boo Boo was like popular, because that was where she confessed that she had a secret love for Honey Boo Boo as the show.
Yeah, not
the kid, just to clarify. But you know, she was genuinely excitable and charming and stuff. And I think, just like I said, I know she has like a middle school education. She left high school to go act and clearly never went through biology, you know. And then in the Vogue article, she talks about having a miscarriage and being alone and, you know, being kind of thrust into the spotlight and started. And of course, Harvey Weinstein. So I think that
Her Lord
I
and
feel sorry
Savior.
for her. I feel sorry for a lot of these women, to be honest. I know, like, I mean, I'm not even really famous, and I get hate mail occasionally, and it makes me sad. So
I swear, James Cameron needs to go down to where that bar is, where I think it's past Randy Newman at this point, and needs to raise it. Because it's definitely past where it was when Honey Boo Boo was popular.
well, we have real life versions of Honey Boo Boo now. So
yeah.
Well, that was Cartman as well.
Mm-hmm.
We got a bunch of fat kids running around. It's like, need to run a little bit more.
Yeah,
remember what happened with Cartman on the scooter, and he was wrestling Honey Boo Boo?
No, I don't.
Wait, that was a South Park episode?
15
I've
years,
got to
so,
see that.
No, I don't.
I'll have to ask
I
my
have
friend
got
who
to see
knows
that.
everything about
So,
South Park.
At the risk of alienating everybody on here, I actually think Jennifer Lawrence's early career is actually pretty good. I like her.
agree with you.
Like Winter's Bone
I agree with
was
you.
a good movie.
Winter's Bone, she was very good, I thought. I like Silver Linings Playbook probably because I used to have a thing for crazy bipolar women. But that's just my issue personally. And you know, she was decent in American Hustle, but she didn't deserve top billing anywhere compared to Christian Bale or Amy Adams. I mean, you know, she didn't have.
I was actually kind of curious about how her play stacked up against Amy Adams.
Lately, Jennifer Lawrence has made terrible decisions. She hasn't been in a good movie in probably 7 years. So I don't know what she's doing.
That was of her own volition.
Right. I mean,
that was
I
her
think,
own choice.
But Passengers was I still haven't seen it, and I did not hear good things from people I trust. You know, she was in Don't Look Up with the Adam McKay movie. It was pretty forgettable. So I don't know what she's doing other than just complaining about her incredibly good fortune.
That you're right, and in some ways, honestly, I think she does need help. This is, as much as I have gone off on Brie Larson, Jennifer Lawrence is the kind of damage that I actually do pity, because she just screams that she needs help.
You can fix her.
This is a woman. It's like, first off, with the whole Leonardo DiCaprio, he got $5 million more than me. His first role was in 1979. Yours was in 2006 or 2003 or something like that. The Monk Show. She did an episode on Monk, where then your first movie was 2006. His first movie was in 1991, Critters 3. So, he has miles and years, in fact, decades more experience than she does. That kind of thing goes into what determines an actor's pay. Also, how much of a draw they are to the box office. That also determines what an actor's pay. What is she known for? Hunger Games, okay? Ask any generic moviegoer besides X-Men and Hunger Games, what is she known for? They're going to be hard pressed to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this much: she was a couple years before the Hunger Games. She was on the Bill Engvall show, so there's that.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean,
I do think she's more talented than Brie Larson.
Yeah,
she is more talented. I'll give you that right now. She actually has acting range. When I watch the Hunger Games, I actually think they're pretty damn good movies. And the thing is, she does a good job in them. She actually does a very good job in them, where she has the emotional range that is needed. Brie Larson only knows how to look like this. That's it. And that's Brie Larson for you. But when it comes to Jennifer Lawrence, she allowed something that is completely not anything to do with her to influence her life to the point where she gave up acting for several years, all because somebody won an election that she didn't like. She also is having nightmares about Tucker Carlson because of something that absolutely has nothing to do with Tucker Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys
Roe
see?
v. Wade gets overturned. She's having nightmares about Tucker Carlson. What is the correlation there?
Did you
Maybe
guys?
he reported on it, I guess. But it's like, do you realize how sick and damaged you sound, woman? Get fucking help.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, did you guys see Tucker actually cover that?
I saw the clip on Twitter.
No, I haven't.
Made me laugh so bad because he just puts on the glasses and like starts doing his just like stupid like joking voice or whatever. But it's, if you can find the clip, it's pretty funny.
I like the way that Freedom Tunes did it. They made Tucker Carlson into like, it's Freddy, right? That goes through your dreams or whatever.
Yes, Freddy Krueger. Yeah.
So they made him into Freddy Krueger.
Oh my God. I mean, seriously, she does need help. And I honestly hope she gets it, because we all know that Hollywood's not helping out other actors that seriously need help.
We were just talking earlier about having redemption arcs and how it would be nice to have redemption arcs.
She's not beyond redemption.
Yeah. And it would be nice
She's
for
not.
some of these very entitled sounding, very uber privileged Hollywood starlets to come back down to earth and realize that they need some humility if we're going to keep going to the movies.
I do want to put this up only because Rob requested. Is this the video that you're talking about here about Tucker responding to Jennifer Lawrence's hearing?
When you decide to work in television, you lose control of a lot of things. Foremost, the way other people perceive you. So can it really be your fault? Are you really responsible if major Hollywood starlets dream about you? Maybe it's too sexy. Who knows? We can only speculate. Trace Gallagher has the details.
Yeah. The economy of this, it's important to note that while Jennifer Lawrence sees you in her head at night, the nightmares when she sleeps, she's likely not watching you now. But her parents are probably watching you because they're fans. And as Jennifer notes in the October issue of Vogue, the 2016 election has caused tension among her Kentucky family. Quoting here, "I just worked so hard in the last 5 years to forgive my dad and my family and try to understand. It's different. The information they're getting is different. Their life is different. I'm sorry, I'm just..."
I just wanted to jump in real quick. Just listen to the ego behind that statement. I've tried so hard in the last few years to forgive my dad and my family. It's like, I've tried so hard to forgive my family for being Republicans. Like, some people just really just don't understand like how they sound when they say shit like that out loud.
I got something to say after that.
I just want to finish
Leashing, but I can't F with people who aren't political anymore. Now, as for her Tucker Carlson nightmares, they likely stem from a 2017 segment where you joked that she had Trump derangement syndrome, and where several media outlets said that she blamed Trump for a series of 2017 hurricanes. Now, remember this, she was taken, she says, grossly out of context. Grossly? Really? I mean, shortly after she said Trump would be the end of the world and that Trump was a jar of mayonnaise, she went on to say in a 2016 interview with a British television station that the election was, quote, startling. And quoting here, "You're watching these hurricanes now, and it's really hard not to feel Mother Nature's rage and wrath." And it kind of makes one ask, rage or wrath at whom exactly? In 2017, it would likely have been Trump and the deplorables, but today it would be Trump and the semi-fascists were the rage and wrath.
I will say to that she was promoting her Mother film at the time, and she literally played Mother Nature in that one. So I actually didn't think much of her comment when she said that, and I think people have taken it to an exaggerated sort of meaning.
Well, also on the backs of that, she went on to do a movie that was literally an allegory for climate change. So you can look at
Yeah. Well, that's where that's the tour that she said that on. Because I remember that movie and hating that movie.
Watch Red Sparrow, where she doesn't wear any clothes and she's an assassin. It's fantastic.
Okay. Her going off on her family. Her saying that she has to really try hard to forgive her family because of political opinion. That irks the hell out of me. I have family who are way on the opposite side of the political spectrum.
I think we all do, right? Like I think we all have.
And yet, I still talk with them. We have some of the most back and forth arguments that you literally think that there are things that we are throwing knives at each other on Facebook or on communications and other what. But yet we still are family. We still love each other. We still talk about, after we're done our political back and forth, we're going to be like, so yeah, what's the weather like down there? Or have you seen this movie or something like that? That's what, to be so disturbed in your head that you can't function with your own family because of a political difference. That is so sad. Honestly, it really is. And take something that actually is unforgivable, like your family completely cutting off communications from you because you were falsely accused of something like that happened to me. I had family after my exoneration completely cut off communications with me for years because of public perception. And I'm like, and then they come up looking for me. It's like, you really want to try getting back into my life after what you did when I actually needed family at that point for support? Get the fuck out. That's what I would say. But her saying, but it's like, oh, well, we believe differently politically. And she's like, I have to really work hard to forgive them because what is wrong with you, Jennifer? Like I said, you need help. And honestly, I hope you get it.
I think I did read before that she, like I said, she went to Hollywood during her middle school years. So I don't think she got, like, I mean, like I taught high school for a while, you know, and logical fallacies are a 10th grade thing. So.
I mean, she should have finished her education. She should have never gone to Hollywood because otherwise she probably would have. The wonderful thing about this has actually been a study that has been proven. Most kids are liberal as teenagers and into their 20s, but as they get into their 30s and 40s, they lean further into more conservative values.
It's called,
and I'm not talking political values. I'm talking about actual conservatism values.
Yeah, like reality has kind of sunk in at that point where you start to realize, like a lot of people, there was like that Zuby guy on Twitter, Zoomy Music.
Oh yeah.
He identified as a woman for an hour to break the record for weightlifting. And it was a while ago. And then, like most people don't understand though that like years of training need to take place for women to be able to do it as well. And men can go a little, you know, like they can do a lot better in the same amount of time. And that's nature. And I think a lot of people, because they see certain, like, I mean, like they say like representation matters, but it's like, you know, you still have to be honest in your portrayals of these things. One of my favorite books when I was a teenager was The Secret Life of Bees. And it's basically like about this like 4-year-old girl who accidentally shot her mom. And, you know, like I liked it back then. I could buy it. Having learned how to shoot a gun now, I'm like, I don't think this was I don't think this was actually like a good plot device. So,
well, there are some hair triggers, I will say that.
Well, I feel the same way about like birthing scenes in movies a lot of the time. I'm like, oh, she had it easy. So.
or that's not a newborn baby. What the hell?
Yeah, sometimes it's not even a baby. Oh, that's a CGI baby.
Oh,
okay.
Yes, American Sniper, Clint Eastwood. You're holding a doll. We all can see that.
Yeah, so you do kind of realize that it's just from life experience that reality is a lot more real than your imagination will make it. So.
Well, I was basically just going to say, any last thoughts on Jennifer Lawrence complaints about her paycheck, and maybe if she hadn't gone to Hollywood, she never would have ended up on Harvey Weinstein's casting couch, and maybe you want to think about that. But go ahead, Cassie.
I was just going to say that the fact that she has turned away from her family goes to show like the bullshit I'm sure Hollywood constantly spews about, like, oh, if you don't have these specific belief systems, well, you're inferior. You can't associate with people that do. If you do, that can be detrimental to you. Even if you're just being able to tolerate your own family for your political differences. I mean, there's some things that I don't agree with my parents on. I will never agree with my parents on. And at the end of the day, we still live together. Like, that we tolerate each other despite our differences, because every human being at the end of the day, even if their family has a DNA construction that makes you uniquely yourself, and the fact that adults can't come to the basic premise that we're individualists, that like you're going to come across people that are different from you, and you have to learn to accept that and try to be a normally functioning society and trying to get along and trying to do the right thing. Like, these are basic elements that make you an adult, and a lot of people in Hollywood can't even get past those basic elements of adulthood.
My cat is more of an adult than these people are.
No doubt.
Nerdigan's only agreed to be on the show so she can show off her cat. That's the only reason why she's
Everybody who's watching has a very good reason to subscribe to her channel. And
he comes.
That cat needs
to my videos a lot.
Well behaved.
Well, he is. He'll come into my lap. He'll flip into my lap. He puts up this cat puts up with a lot of my crap. Yes, you do. You do. And
Cassie,
but you scoop his, so it's a fair deal.
Cassie will show off her dog right now, but it's too busy trying to jump off the stairs to take itself out, so you're not going to be able to be on the podcast.
You haven't been talking, Mr. Man. You haven't had any commentary on this at all. Usually you're meowing or something.
As he should be. I'm sure he has way more interesting things to say than most of these people in Hollywood do. That is a fact.
Well, you want to know what that cat's thinking right now? I'll tell you exactly what that cat's thinking right now.
Well,
that cat is thinking
after this,
about the sweet release of death.
It's like, know your place, peasant, but don't piss me off.
Well, this cat don't get mad at me. He gets lots of love. He gets plenty of treats. And he gets to play fetch too. Yes, this cat plays fetch. He is weird.
I like that
almost
cat.
Comes off like a dog.
I like that cat.
This cat is so weird. And he's a snuggle bug too. This little kitty is. Zeno is a very snuggly kitties.
All right, guys. I think we've had a very, very good discussion here on a multitude of topics. We've talked about corporations ruining all of our lives. We talked about insufferable Hollywood celebrities, and we also talked about a good TV show somewhere in between there as well. But I'm gonna allow you guys to talk about the stuff that you guys got coming up. So if there's anything coming up on your YouTube channels, Rob, maybe you guys should let people know where they can find you in the future. So I'll start with Mr. Orange Hat here. What do you got coming up?
Well, I had a stream that was canceled today because I had a huge storm raging outside. So that's actually moved to tomorrow morning. It's a mystery review. It's a guilty pleasure with a perfect ending. Those are the hints. And later that evening, I will be on Jade Shadow, Mara Jade's channel, where we're discussing Cobra Kai Season 5 with spoilers. And basically, other than that, I do guest choice reviews. I'm contacting a few others to see if they want to come onto my channel. You get to choose the movie, the time, and the date of the stream and what movie we're discussing. And yeah, it's pretty fun stuff.
All right, cool. So definitely have to put Mr. Orange Hat's YouTube in the chat as well. But let's move over to our lovely writer, C.S. Johnson, who has some things that she wants to talk about. So where can they find more of you in the future?
So I think actually Jacob put my YouTube channel in the comments on Twitch anyway. But yeah, I have my own YouTube channel that I'll get to adding more stuff to. But I do have some audiobooks in there, and then also I do have, in celebration of Little Mermaid, I have my Black retelling of Snow White, Northern Lights, Southern Stars. It'll be on sale this weekend for $2.99 for the audiobook. So, yep, I'll post it to Twitter at some point if you want to look there.
All right, then. Next, we're going to Cult Classic Reviews. How you doing today?
Well, Cage, but close enough, I guess.
Whatever. You just show your show since you did the show already.
Oh my gosh, you funny. But I just uploaded 2 videos today on YouTube, basically talking about my thoughts on the Dragon Ball movie that recently came out. Since I did manage to get the chance to go to the movies to see it, I had some interesting thoughts. It's sort of a mixed bag. I actually liked the movie more than I thought I would, essentially. And I uploaded another video just taking a massive shit on Kotaku's entire existence for like a half hour. So if you're into just listening to people just expose just how stupid a games journalist website is and making fun of them and actually kind of bringing back that old side of YouTube where people didn't give a fuck about what they said. Yeah, definitely tune into that. Cult Classic Cage on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Pretty much play video games on Twitch. And if you just want to talk to me casually, you can hit me up on Twitter.
All right, the biggest Titans fan in the state of Washington, Mr. Rob Motto.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, so my Twitter's there at the bottom. I talk about movies. I also shit talk and talk about football too. Now that we're in football season, I just got my first review written in 5 months, so that's an accomplishment on its own. But I'm going to be watching Any Given Sunday and writing a review on it because I think it has a lot of smart things to say about the modern game. And I'm really not looking forward to seeing The Woman King this weekend and reviewing it next Monday. So a lot of bad movies coming in the month of September, but we'll be here to trash all of them. So
may God have mercy on your soul, sir.
Yeah, and to be honest, that might not even be the worst one that comes out in the month of September. That's just how bad this month is going. And then let's go to our last guest here. The person, just go ahead and just tell everyone where they can find more videos.
Just give us the cat.
Yeah.
He's busy sniffing other stuff. I don't know what he's doing. Cat, you abandoned me at the worst time.
Yep.
Now he's just looking at me funny. Anyways, so you can find me over at Nerdigans Inc. Right after this, I'm going to be recording a live reaction for the latest chapter of Zatch Bell 2. Yes, there is a sequel manga for Zatch Bell.
Wow.
Which is freaking epic. It is goddamn amazing. I
had the cards. Jesus.
Dude, I mean, we got to see the return of Zatch, I think it was a couple of chapters ago. Oh my God. Our boy is grown up and he is amazing. And I love him so much. I can't wait to cover the chapter. Earlier, as I talked about earlier, I covered Eden Zero, which if you are not reading that manga, why? It's Hiro Mashima's masterpiece right now. It is so good. And I covered Four Nights of the Apocalypse, which is also the sequel to Seven Deadly Sins, where we're getting the epic match of Arthur versus Meliodas next week, which I can't wait for. Oh my God, it's gonna be so good. I also I finished up an article for the latest trailer for Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, which is going to be so good. I'm gonna provide all the information also on my channel because I did a live reaction for the trailer on my channel as well, which went into a little bit more depth onto some of the events going on in there. And I'm gonna do an additional video going over the information in terms of the core, because there's going to be 4 cores for Bleach 1000 Year Blood War. So I'm going to go over that and go over a little bit more of the production because the production's very interesting for Bleach. So it's oh my God, it fucked up a bunch of anime productions because of the cast alone. But I think also the production team on there. Yeah, I think that might have fucked it up too because the director for Bleach 1000 Year Blood War is the same director for the new Digimon movie as well. So.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
Yeah, so this is going to be a test to see on how good the Digimon Adventure 2 movie is. Because if you've watched also Digimon, oh my God, The Last Kazuna, yeah, same director. So
yeah,
it's
great.
going to be so freaking good. I'm so excited for it.
I did see the latest episode of the Ghost Game, and all I can say is that 42 episodes in, I still don't understand what this show is supposed to be about.
This guy's not on Ghost Game, so this is completely different. I double checked.
All right then.
But yeah, there and I think I'm going to be on the cast with you tomorrow, talking about Sentai.
Oh yeah, so well, let me just go ahead and get into that one. Let you guys know what we got coming up tomorrow night. Myself, Nerdigans, TW, and maybe a couple of other people will be on for the Retro Wave reviews. We're gonna finish up part 2 of Super Sentai Die Ranger, which I believe is the best Super Sentai series to date. We will be talking about that one in more detail tomorrow, finishing up the second half of that series. And then, of course, tomorrow night on Bounding in the Comics YouTube, we'll be talking with the Black Pill stream. Myself, John, Josh, maybe Nerdigans will all be there to talk about the news of the week. Next Monday, somewhere after the Titans game, we'll be talking about The Woman King and how great of a movie that is. Because that movie has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it surely has 100% because of diversity reasons and things of that nature, not because of the movie is talking about how they kept the African slave trade alive. But they don't want to talk about that portion of the film, but we will on Monday night. And then, of course, next Tuesday night, we'll be right back here again with episode 16 of the Barroom Podcast. So if you guys want more of that, you can catch us over there tomorrow night. Catch us back here next week as well. We got a lot of things coming on. But for everyone who joined us tonight, Orange Hat, Rob Motto, Nerdigans, Cassie's Empty Chair, and Johnson, we all enjoy your company. We had a lot of guys that came in tonight. We had a very good crowd. Thank you all for joining us. But we're going to go ahead and hit the outro and get out of here. So we will see you. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. If not, we'll see you next week. So adios and goodbye. Let's hit the spring yard.